So I'll be talking to Davood and Vexer about their tournament finals. Super exciting. The only thing which was wrong about it was that the PlatHat people didn't put them in order to make it the most exciting.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that was a crazy game. So I'm excited to get both of your input on these games and talk about the different decisions you guys made. So yeah, we have. Should we get into it, or anything you guys want to discuss beforehand? I guess.
Um,
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, happy to be here. And yeah, it was a disappointment that they didn't follow like the obvious order, right? And on that stream.
Yeah, second
yeah.
time in a row. I was a little bit pissed.
Yeah, I thought someone might watch it first, but I guess not.
Hopefully from now on they do, though.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks
Yeah,
for having me too.
Um, yeah, I guess we can go through the games and then I can ask you guys questions like the factions you guys chose and I guess viewer questions also. Um,
Sounds
but
good.
yeah. So I guess you want to start, Davood? So you go first, and I guess a lot of people will be asking about
Yeah.
some discards this turn.
Yeah, I saw that was a big question. Yeah, should I just get into the discard
Yeah, I
thoughts
can start the
or
turn.
okay.
So you move the fighter, which makes sense. You don't use that many resources as well as you're able to get uh,
Yeah.
cleared out.
Yeah. Yeah, no risk of the fighter. I mean, of the machinist just kind of taking out the fighter by doing the dual attacks. Get some good hits in. Got lucky with take him out, and then get a brute kind of moving towards him. Although Sunderved was still kind of left behind, but I could deal with that later. And then yeah, I guess I'll. Then I discarded my entire hand, I think, which included Varn. I could have kept Varn and had just enough magic to summon him. But let's see. So I had the Brute, Slinger, Fighter up there. I thought there was a decent chance that Vexer could take out the Fighter and probably the Slinger because of the sniper shooting through. So I thought I didn't really, yeah, I didn't really want to just have Varn and that Brute because I felt like I wouldn't really be able to use him immediately. He wouldn't really have enough protection and might get like just kind of maybe one or two turn killed after I brought him out. And I also got kind of lucky that Torridon was in the next hand, so I could really use all the magic anyways that I built by just discarding everything. But yeah, I think there was some comments in the Discord that were pretty accurate about how it was just I just felt it was kind of too early to put everything into Varn with a kind of an uncertain field of units.
Was it part of your plan for this game to play Torodin? Is that something like you were going to be aiming to try to do?
Yeah, I pretty frequently play Torridon in most of my MV games. It just kind of I always just kind of end up with a lucky ramming ramming event and then kind of assassinate their summoner with that. So just kind of been working so far. So thought I'd probably aim for it again.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought when you discarded the whole hand. Like, oh, he's probably trying to get to Torodin.
Yeah, I'm also
So,
not. Yeah, I guess I'm also not used to playing against people that really I don't know, watch my discard so closely. So I guess I wasn't even thinking about telegraphing it. But yeah, guess I kind of did.
Were you gonna say something,
all
Vexer?
right. Yeah, so we can keep going in the game. And here, I mean, it was painful losing that Machinist. It's the one that you want to kind of like be able to start doing the Machinist with all the upgrades. So losing that, I felt like for this first play, I didn't really had a lot of options. Like in my hand, I only had Bandits, I had the Admiral. So all I could really do is try to go after that fighter and then see if I could get that slinger, right? Like in there, the shot at the brood is not that significant, but if you're able to take out that slinger, it really hurts them. The rolls in there, like it's a 0 out of 2, which at that point, almost if you get like a 1 out of 2, it's similar, right? Like it's hard to get back to them unless then you play another sniper, which I don't love in this matchup. Like I would usually discard snipers in this matchup because they just have a lot of health and you don't have a lot of time to take them out. Like they're going to be coming hard at you. They're going to be hitting so hard that either you take them out quick or you're going to be losing the game. So it was out of the fact that I had no options here, that I had to go with a sniper and at least be able to take out that fighter, which they can be really problematic if they survive multiple turns.
Yeah, with the ability to push. Yeah, no, I agree. I think slingers are one of the strongest units Mount Vargath has. So anytime you can get rid of them, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's your turn, Davood.
Yeah, gonna get a surplus of gates here. A little bit too early for my comfort, but still not bad to have a gate on the side. Oh yeah, this was one of those turns I got perfect rolls.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That one was especially big.
Yeah, 3 out of 3
and
sniper.
even that 3 on the gate, it's amazing how significant it ended up being at the end of the game. Like that was, it really changed the options I had afterwards. And that 3 on the sniper, I was like, oh boy, this is not looking good.
Yeah, it's a huge bonus.
Yeah, so in here, that's a very tough position to be in with a brute because like it's gonna be hard to take out, and then he's just gonna be shifting whatever you put in there and taking over your front gate spot. Also, that early gate is significant for the Vargath. Luckily, I at least had also the early gate, so that gave me some options there from the side. So in here, this was another turn in which I felt like I didn't really had a lot of choices. Like all I had in hand was the couple of bandits that I kept. I only discarded the Admiral because at that point it was not likely that I was going to be able to play him, and with how hard the Bargath hits, he was probably not going to be that significant. So all I really had was those bandits and the gunner, and they were good for that scenario because they gave me a shot of taking down the brute. It's really hard to take them down quickly with just some range dice, so that gave me 6 melee dice, and then I had that opportunity slinger. Like every time you have an opportunity to take them down, you want to take them, right? They're really most of the time they're going to be behind something big. So that was like even if I was going to be sacrificing a gunner, I was good with it.
Were you expecting Torden next turn with 8 magic?
Yeah, I thought like, well, it's likely that he might be playing it. He was probably aiming at that. Even though the fact that he discarded every single card in his first hand, I wasn't really 100% sure because I was like, well, if he didn't had it in his original hand because he ended with 0. So maybe he didn't drew it, right? Like it wasn't super likely. But at the end of the day, I thought, you know what? I don't really have a lot of choices in this play. Like to even think about like if he has it, it's not like I can do much differently. I decided to try to save the gunner to live another day to try to. So I kept blocks there to be able to play that smoke bomb that we're about to see, so you can keep it rolling and let's see. So in this one, I got some decent rolls. Like the play I was aiming for was okay. I need to get rid of the brute and then be able to kill a slinger. Like that was what I was looking for. Uh, because the Torling wasn't even a certain thing. I was like, I'm gonna just take my chances, try to keep that gunner because I don't even know what I'm gonna be drawing. In my hand, I would just have like the hand cannon and the smoke bomb. Wasn't sure which units I was gonna be drawing, so I wanted to at least try to keep that gunner there. And that's why I had to keep blocks in that 3 spaces away from it.
Was the I see. You're trying to get this bandit out of the way of any type of dice outside of slingers, as well as
Yeah, and mostly like either Sunderbed, that like it could keep coming down, or whatever unit he was going to be summoning, like another fighter or something like that. He would get like three melee on it. So yeah, that was a perfect opportunity just to keep it as far away from them as possible, so that they don't have an easy target there with whatever they can summon out of that left side.
Yeah, you both do a great job of making it so that there's only like one or two sides which your units can be attacked from, making it hard for units to die in this game and other games.
Yeah, it's pretty important in these games.
All right, Davood, your turn.
Yep, here comes Torridon. And didn't have too many choices of what to play because I had so many events in my hand. But yeah, the trample on the uh, hidden unit is a nice bonus.
I like
And
this
then
game attack.
I was thinking of putting a gate to Sundervid's left, but that would have just blocked me from being able to use that slinger on an attack.
Mm.
And I guess I was just getting greedy for trying to get another 3 out of 3, and then I could get a pretty decent stronghold back to like maybe the left gate and keep Sundervid up there, put the slinger in the back, and probably put Torridon in front. You could get a couple of ranged hits there against Torridon still, and blocking the attack was probably the biggest motivator. Where I just figured, like, hey, like with this gate way in the back, I can only expose Torridon a little bit. I can completely protect Sundervid and Slinger. It probably takes away a lot of my momentum, but I'll see if I can just kind of build up maybe a Slinger game again.
Cool.
At this point, I was relieved that he didn't plant that forward gate, because once they're in your face and they establish a presence there, they're very hard to deal with. But it's also risky having Thunderbed around there against cloaks, right? So when he did this, I was like, at first, like, well, this is not that bad. Like, well, blocks got hit, but at that point, I had drawn dagger in my last hand. I was like, well, I'm gonna try to like really punish this. But when he sent Thunderbed to attack and just left it there, I was like, oh, okay, so here comes the first stronghold. Too bad.
Yeah, I was pretty scared of an Out of the Shadows the whole game, so a lot of
And
distance. Yep.
exactly. When he went all the way back there, I was like, okay, this is not that bad, because having the Bargoth right in your face, it's always it's hard to deal with that. Like, they're gonna be hitting you so hard that unless you have the right cards exactly to punish them, they can just like take over the game there. So I was kind of relieved when he went back. I was like, well, this is not that bad. There's always the threat of those charging ram the ramming advance, but at least this gave me some a little bit of room to breathe.
All right. So then now it's your turn, Vexer.
Yeah, and at this point I drew another Machinist, so at least I could start. And I had the hand cannon stuck in my hand, so this gave me a way of getting that out of my hand to be able to start drawing more. I still hadn't found the moto boots, which are a key
Yeah.
thing to be able to exploit the busted blocks. So yeah, there was no good target for the bandit, sending it back, and really he didn't left a lot of targets. I thought, like, you know what, let's just force Sterling to get down, and then try to punish him at that point. The gate, I just put it all the way back just so that he wouldn't be able to just clog it immediately. Because if he comes through the middle and then clogs the other side, it's really tough trying to take those positions back. But and I was surprised, like he didn't even want to send a unit. I was
Yeah.
hoping he would send something to the bandit there, with chances like that bandit was gonna survive, and then I could just take down whatever that came down and just move the bandit to the side.
Yeah. I figured the bandit's job was just to kind of soak some damage, so I didn't want to just kind of fall into that and then just lose an entire unit and kind of be stuck still being far away from him. So I saw I had a stronghold, so I set Torridon up to at least hit the gate, and then set up kind of like the next turn where I stronghold away again.
Mm.
Yeah, and at this point, I finally drew exactly the moto boots on the last card, and I was like, well, I guess if we want to play this game, the cloaks are
Yeah,
decent at it. The just hide.
You just hit.
yeah. I was starting to wonder here if I was making a mistake playing the range game, but I had to keep going with it.
So were you at this point were you expecting Quinn at all, Vexer, or
No, not at all. I was actually expecting VAR, and I was ready. I was like, okay, well, he's playing champions. Like, he's going to be relying on champions, which it seems to make things a little bit complicated for cloaks, but it's also risky because they have ways of bringing down like a champion in a single turn. So I was like, okay, it's just a matter of finding like the right opportunity. They hit hard. He's going to be denying me some magic by using the champions. But the cloaks, they don't really have a high magic type of layout of units. So I was still keeping Dagger, but I could see that he was playing around Dagger. He was being extremely cautious. And but I knew like he was gonna have to come down at any point, but I was really surprised when Quen came out, and I was all lined up there to be hurt by that. When he did, I was like, okay, well, you want to play Quen, that he's gonna go down fast now that I have, especially with blocks.
Mhm.
But then the other struggle, I was like, oh man, that
Yeah,
really hurts.
yeah. Two strongholds in a row was really nice, just because I didn't have to like, give up my momentum twice. I could just kind of, you know, go on send another few units diving in, and then pulling back, and then actually start my kind of some strategy for maybe approaching. But yeah, the that bandit with 1 health next to blocks really solidified the choice to use Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quinn is a cool champion when it works, when you're able to use it.
Yeah, don't don't see Quinn too much, so it's also a surprise.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's always well, it's a tough champion to use because imagine without the stronghold there, like you're facing 8 range, which could potentially just have your 5 magic champion die immediately. So yeah, it's a tough situation there. But with a stronghold, at least you get like that good play, and then it's a good threat against the machinist on the back because you have a means of at least threatening some damage on it, and eventually, well, maybe even killing it. Even by attacking the gate, it also triggers the splash damage.
Right.
So yeah, here. Go on. Sorry, go on, Vexer.
I know it was your own echo, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So,
So yeah, I saw
yeah,
you here that you moto boots the Machinist away because you're afraid of Quinn lightning striking it uh, through the.
exactly.
And so here you're mostly just trying to pick at things, right, Vexer? Or what's the goal here? Just try to pick at Tordin or Quinn.
Yeah, so I had to start dealing some damage to those. Like they had a ton of damage, so I couldn't just keep hitting a gate. I thought this is a perfect opportunity to be able to use blocks and then shift him back to a relatively not super safe position, but at least like only Quen would be able to attack me there. And then I would be able to counter with a lethal attack on Quen. I was hoping in here to get 2-3 damage. This is just one of the many series of 1/4s that I got. But still,
Yeah.
even with that, I had a chance of killing Quen the next turn with 8 ranged if he came down. So that's what I was thinking. Tordine, I needed to start softening it up, even if I was going to lose my gunner, just to have a chance of bringing it down in one attack. Well, in one series of attack with the Out of Shadows. By that point, I had Out of Shadows and Dagger in my hand. I mean, I didn't feel like Dagger was a surprise at that point because I had been keeping the magic for her, and you had been playing around Dagger and the Out of Shadows the whole game with the way you had been playing. But yeah, that was the intention, just to at least bringing down a bit Tordin to try to kill it with a single Out of Shadows turn with Dagger.
So what are you thinking here, Davood? Are you comfortable or? Um,
Yeah. So here I'm just kind of thinking that most of my econ, like maybe I have an edge in econ, but only if I kind of count my champs as just being fully usable for the next few turns. So yeah, I couldn't really risk Quen just to maybe get possibly get 2, maybe 3 more damage on blocks. But then if Flox takes that Quen and then skates behind the gate or somewhere, then he's just kind of done his job and can kind of hide away for a while with that advantage of taking out one of my big champs. So yeah, I back up Quinn, keeping her in position, him or her in position for a potential ramming speed next turn, and then also just don't expose Torridon yet, and try to draw out some important unit to take out the slinger so that Torridon can start doing some more damage.
Did you discard it? Go on. Sorry, Vexer.
So the key thing at this point in the game is that he had discarded heavily for all of these champions.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at I felt like I was losing this game at this point. He had a lot of health in the board. The cards, like I'm slightly ahead there, but I felt I was way back. So in this play, while there was another opportunity for the Slinger, I didn't really want to give him magic as much as possible, but I thought like, you know what, it's time to get Dagger out. So I just went for the tray there and then just offer up like the other bandit. Really, here my options was just either that or doing a sniper play and seeing if I get lucky with a like 2 out of 2. And then that would force him at least to have to get closer. But the thing is, I didn't want to keep discarding cards for magic. Like every time I played something, unless I got some magic back, I had to be discarding to end the turns at 4. So that's what made it a little bit tough. Like this was a tough decision at this point. And because I knew like he was just going to play it safe and just like kill it from the back and keep this scenario. But I needed to get that magic, guarantee that to keep that econ battle, right? Like that was my chance at that point to try to eventually force him to come down. And I knew that by putting the Machinist on that side, I was risking the ramming advance and him getting a 4/4 on the Machinist. Mm-hmm. But I thought about it. I still had the other pieces, like the other moto boots and the other gun thing and some more Machinist on my pile. And I thought, well, if he comes down with the ramming advance, he's out of strongholds. It's like a 45% 4/4 shot or 40 to 45. If he wants to gamble his Torridon on that shot, at this point in the game, I would be good with that. Like, I don't mind. Because after that, I knew I could have a very high probability shot of killing the Torridon in one turn. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that I was like considering those type of things, which is funny is how what ended up happening, like that type of play.
No, interesting, yeah. And then Davood here, I forget if you're ramming this turn or the next one.
I think it might be the next one.
Yeah, because I think you have a collar maybe. So here.
Oh yeah. Still doing the work I could with commons without exposing Torridon too much, and I figured I wouldn't get too many chances to really make use of a brute the way that the game was going, just kind of like a no man's land in the middle. So I thought this was probably my best chance to use one and get a kill.
And so then Vexer, you see this, and like you said, this is super scary for just all this health on the board, and Quinn hiding. You go for more chip damage, I think, here on, was it the Brute, or I forget what this turn was. We can watch it, I guess.
On this one, I really just kept doing this because at this point I only had Sin and the Gunner and a Gunner, and I didn't want to spend the Gunner on the Brute. Like I really needed to. I only had like 1 or 2 left. I think I only had that one and another one. So I still kind of risked it. Like, hey, let's leave him to be the one that comes closer to me. At this point, I'm not sure why I didn't move the Machinist. I guess, the ramming advance, it's always hard to know if they even still have that right. Like when they discard heavily with the Vargath, many times the ramming advance is one of the things that gets discarded in the first few turns.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still trying to not because the dagger was gonna have to be on that side. I didn't want to clog that side so that he could get some good splash damage or something like that. Uh, Thoradine, I guess I was conscious that Thoradine and a ramming advanced and like Plaza Color was a possibility, but I still thought like, hey, it's almost like a coin toss that is in my favor. Even if it happens, it doesn't completely destroy my chances because I can just reapply the combo. And I had like 3 more Machinists still coming in the pile. So yeah, I still took my chances here and just went ahead for that coin toss, like risking the possibility of the coin toss, really, because I was not sure if he even had it.
Mm. Yeah, no. Were you or Davood, were you prioritizing because you don't use any or maybe they're just you don't use any battle leaders, or at least you discard both your battle leaders. Were you just was it a plan by you to use both rammings this game, or was it just the card draw where if the ramming was there instead of a battle leader, you would have kept the you would have discarded the ramming also?
Uh, See, I wasn't thinking too much long term about which one to use over the other, but I think I do favor ramming over battle leader, especially because in this game, battle leader, I think I pulled the first one when Sunderved was maybe literally in the back row. So I figured that was not worth clogging my hand for a while. And then yeah, just how I was kind of playing cautious of out of the shadows the whole time. Figured they might be better use in magic in this kind of like long grind game. But yeah, ramming advance. Yeah, like one of my favorite strategies is take out Torrid and hope for the perfect kind of positioning for a ramming advance to kill their summoner.
Mm.
A
So,
question in
yeah.
retrospect: do you think this collar should have been here, or I guess it's blocking the gate spot then from dagger? So maybe I'm wrong. It just is.
Yeah, I let's see. So it could have been on the other side. Yeah, I was just. I guess I was just kind of trying to prevent giving him kind of first strike on it,
Mm,
and like just kind of giving him the option of whether or not to attack it. Um, I did figure it might be kind of a drain on my resources just to put him back there and maybe not even use him at all. But yeah, I definitely needed it for this Torridon hit, and yeah, no real strong opinion on that one.
mm.
Like maybe the other way would have been fine too.
So you whiff. Sorry, were you gonna say something, Vexer?
Yeah, so I just actually remember why I didn't move the Machinist. So Thoradine can cross the gates, like he can go over the gates, and he can move 5 spaces.
Oh, true.
So what I was thinking there is that if he had just a ramming advance, he could hit blocks through 2 sides.
Mm.
So he could go and get me on with Thoradine for 4 on one side and then a unit on the front. So I didn't want to be leaving blocks exposed on 2 flanks there. So that's the mechanism there was really acting as a way for Thoradine to not be able to just ram all the way forward and cross the gate and hit blocks through a side. So yeah, that was the logic of it.
That's a great point.
Yeah, so in here we see like the 3 out of 4. At this point, I was like, you know what, this looks great. Even though he got the kill on the gate, I had the 2 out of shadows already in hand. So I was like, this is perfect. Like I'm gonna get rid of that Thoradine.
Yeah, yeah, I really just crossed my fingers on that for that 4 out of 4.
So I felt like I was behind the whole game until this point. I felt like, okay, now I'm gonna turn things around, and like this game just shifted to my side completely. The play that I did here had a 60% chance of killing Thoradin and give me my last attack with Sin Sin on the Slinger. and 90% chance of kill Thoradin if I had to use all my attacks on it. So I felt like, okay, this is going to be a good shift in the game, but then this
Yeah,
happened, whiff
I
after
think,
whiff.
I think that's the third.
Yep.
Yeah, and not the last, I believe. So and then another one here. Then I was like, oh my god, like I need now perfect melee just to kill this one, and then it's the complete opposite.
Yep.
At this point, I was like, man, I think this game is just slipping out of my hands. Like I didn't even bother doing the other attack on it. At least I thought it was going to be more impactful to bring down, open that summoning spot, get the magic. Then I was thinking like, well, this could be over now. Like I will just at this point need him to not really get a lot of damage on blocks to have a chance of getting back into the game.
Were you you were of course very happy to see this Davood, right?
Yeah, definitely. I thought, yeah, when I saw the Out of Shadows, I was like, oh no, I hope he maybe has 1 health left, but to still be there and even have 4 health left, I was pretty happy with that.
So I think you go for the Machinist. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, no, you just go
good
for
message
blocks here.
again. Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is kind of too late to really get too much out of Stinson.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that was the right approach. Like you wanted to get blocks in such a way that I wouldn't be able to then just abuse and take over the game with the busted Machinist interaction. And at least I got, I thought I was going to end up with 2 lives, something like that. Being at 4 at least gave me some comfort in thinking that I might be, like, I'm able to survive a 3 hit, which is what most of his units are able to get you with. Not enough to be able to take a Sunderbed hit, but I was like, well, I thought I was toast at this point after that. So this gave me one last chance. And then this play here, which was the decisive one, if you go back a little bit, so rewind to the end of his last attack. You can just go back a couple instances, not the whole turn, just before he draws. So at this point in here, right here, so you can see his pile. He only has 1 card left. And I was watching this and seeing like, well, I know he doesn't have a ramming advance at this point, the other one.
Oh
Because if
yeah,
he had, I would be dead. Right? If he had the play he could have done with a ramming advance would guarantee the win in this turn. Almost like give him almost a sure shot there.
Mm.
So I know he doesn't have it, and all he has left in his pile is 1 card. So that's 1 in 29 chance of that last card being a ramming advance, because that's something that he's out of his control, right? It's just the way the thing got shuffled. It's a 1 in 29. He has discarded like 12 or 13 cards at this point. So I thought it's very likely that the other ramming advance has been discarded. So I started planning my play around that. I still thought, you know what? I'm going to try to do a play that even plays around the other ramming advance, right? I thought that the chances of the last card being that were like 3.5%, but I'm still going to try to do that. And I could find a play that was able to plan around that. But that play, there were other factors here. I had to contend with the fact that I could whiff again, right? After witnessing like a 90+% shot that whiffs hard, I was already counting what were my chances of killing that brute and killing Thoradin. And the plays for Thoradin, like on the brute, there were like also 90% type of attacks of killing the brute and of killing Thoradin. But after you already saw that fail, like you don't feel that's a guaranteed shot, right? So I was thinking, what's more likely? Of the last card in his whole pile to be the ramming advance, or me whiffing a 90% shot? And I actually had two that I had to do on Thoradin, right? Like Thoradin, very likely I was going to have to use both attacks with blocks to kill it. And then I needed to do on the brute, I was going to do dagger on the back, and then I had one more attack. But the issue was that if I did, I had a gunner in my hand, and I had a sniper too. So if I did the 5-5 on the back of the brute and I got the kill, then I wouldn't be able to use the gunner cover fire to make sure that blocks was in a good spot. So that was the crux of that decision there, in which what am I planning for? Like, am I gonna get so paranoid that I'm playing around the chances of the last card in his pile being the ramming advance, but then risking myself in which if I fail the 90% shot, I lose the game? So that's what I was thinking here. This was the toughest decision here. And then I thought, like, I mean, should I maybe keep looking for alternatives? This at this point, we had been going for like 5 days. My clock was around 16 hours. It was a Sunday. I was just exhausted from this tournament. It had taken almost close to 2 months. So I
Yeah.
just wanted this to be over at this point. So before I thinking, should I keep finding for a solution? Like, I felt like maybe I could find a play that satisfied all of those possibilities. But then I thought, like, hey, I need to start not being so paranoid. Like, if the last card in his deck, I thought to myself, if the last card in his pile is the other ramming advance, he was just meant to win this thing. Like, he just deserved it, right? I don't want to keep thinking about this. I'm just gonna do the play that gives me the best possibility of getting those two kills, like the Tordin kill, the Brute kill, and then after that gives me the best chances of just winning this game. Because it's more likely that then he can still find plays of getting like that last couple hits or a Sunderbit kill hit for the win. So I'm gonna play around that in such a way that he cannot even hit me one more time with blocks. Because my more realistic concern was that on the next turn he could just play like a fighter and then attack, move whatever I put in front, or kill like the gunner and then attack with a slinger and blocks and send me to 2 or 1 life. And then at the end of the game, do one of those usual plays we see with Vargath, in which a caller moves something and then Sundervid just goes forward, kills whatever you had in front protecting blocks, and then just does one of the martial forces and puts a unit and finishes you off, right? Like, that's very common, and I felt like that's more likely for him to manage to get this victory than the last card being ramming advance. So that was the logic of what I try to do here. And as you can see here, like, my play was first, just out of caution, assuming that I whiff again, I'm going to move as far away of that Brute as possible. Then when I saw that I was going to be able to kill Torodin, like, I didn't get him with one shot, but the 1 out of 4 is almost like extremely likely. I made the play in such a way that I had the smoke bomb in hand, so I didn't want to give dagger to him. Like, if I just played dagger and kept blocks on the other side, dagger is as good as gone, right? Like, he can just come in hard and, like, with Sundervid and some units, finish her off really easily, and then he's not worried about that backstab thing with dagger, which is your main concern here as Sunderbird before charging in as a like last effort. He's way back on the econ, so he's gonna have to be very aggressive and just start marching in, and it's hard to stop them when they do that, right? Especially if you're at 4 and they're at 11. So yeah, I took the back there to try to go for the dagger play, and knowing that my odds were like 90+%, I went for the optimum play in which he wouldn't really have good targets. After doing this, you can see that I kept blocks there. I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to move there. But when I saw that I got more than 2, like if I got a 1 out of 3, I was even hesitant if I was going to move blocks all the way here. But because I got more than that, I just shifted him back to then be able to do the smoke bomb on dagger.
Over here, yeah.
So if I didn't get good shots with blocks, I think my plan was to not even move the gunner from that original spot where it was at. And then
I see, in the original one, when you attacked originally with blocks and during the movement phase.
yes, exactly. So at one point at first, if I got bad shots there, I was thinking of keeping blocks all the way there, so that the brute wouldn't be able to hit me. So that was my main concern. Like if the brute survives, then the brute can hit me, and then the slinger can hit me, and then he can like likely have that's a 60, 70, 75% kill shot. So that was the idea there.
Were you gonna say something, Davood? Or
Oh, no. I was just happy to see that Vlox wasn't kind of going to go into that corner to replace the machinist.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just would have felt no way to get at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at this point, I knew he had a collar in hand. I assumed very likely that he still had a fighter because he had only played one. So I was considering those possibilities. Like I knew he had the extended range of one more because of the collar. And yeah, with this play, I thought like, well, all he can really do is go after the gunner, and then he's gonna be exposing something heavily by doing that, either the one of his last fighters or one of his last cards pretty much, or this linger from all the way back there in front of his gate, and then dagger can go and get like a very like a sure hit there, like the 2 out of 3 on it. And at this point he has so few units that all of those really make a big difference. At this point I wasn't that worried about the scene, like I could shift her and expose her and start using blocks from the back, because at this point I didn't feel like I had like a done deal even without the ramming advanced. He could still have like a last ditch effort, right? Like that type of shot. So I wanted to really make sure he didn't get like a slinger attack on blocks.
Makes sense. Okay, and then
Yeah. Then at this point, just the clouds opened up. Saw that one spot next to Vlox. And I was also really happy with just having this fighter, so that if Sunderved didn't finish Vlox off, then the fighter could shove the collar, hopefully not kill it, and then give the collar one more shot.
That's a cool play. Yeah, you get the 2 extra dice.
Yeah, or 3.
Oh yeah, 3 with. You're right. You're 3 with 4 glory or ramming advance.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That would have been that would have been such an awesome ending, right? Like
Yeah.
The revives of Sunderbed, and it's like, oh, I'm safe, and it's like, wait, what is the fighter doing?
Yeah, I almost wish I would have attacked with a fighter anyways, just to see if the collar could have made it over, but I didn't want to give myself any bad luck.
You know what would happen then? You'd kill the collar, and then Sunderbed would completely whiff also. You know.
Exactly. just hold on to it.
Yeah. No, that was a sick game by both of you guys. Very cool. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, both of you.
Sure.
Any final thoughts on this game before we go to the Fallen Kingdom Shadow Elf game?
I think we
Good.
Yeah. I think this was. I think our fastest game was FK, but then this game was our second fastest. And at this point, I was just starting to figure, I guess I think all of our games are kind of have a similar strategy to them, where they're like no one really wants to be too much in the middle, and just kind of taking shots at each other from further away.
So what was the So was it 1-1, and then the last game was the Sky Spear Avians filth game, or?
Yeah.
But kind of like the Skype Avians, it's funny because I had already ruled that one out as that had no chance on that one. So I was treating the Mountain Bargat game as the game that was going to decide everything. The first one we finished was this one. So yeah, I was thinking like the other one is lost. Everything is on the Mountain Bargat game, and that was a really good game plan you brought there. You know, I mean, Vargath can also go out aggressive and try to just browbeat Cloaks there, pretty close. But it's always risky. Like you always run the risk of getting trapped and getting some big hit on Sunderville and just running around. But the way, like the approach that you played, it made things really, really hard there for the Cloaks. I think this is probably a tough matchup for the Cloaks, but the Cloaks always just have a chance just because of how broken they are, right? Like they can just abuse the Machinist and then just win that way, and it's hard to get close to them because of the risk of the ambush. But yeah, that was a good game plan here that you brought on this one.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. So this game, just quickly, my own question now, because I because I'm hosting, so I can ask before people ask questions. What do you guys both think about Fallen Kingdoms with the tournament buffs? Do you think they're a top tier faction? Do you think they're still sort of mid, or what's the thoughts on Fallen Kingdoms?
See, I'd say I guess I was mostly thinking about it after the fact, just looking at the percentages, and yeah, it definitely gave them kind of a pretty good boost. It seemed like, and it's nice having Gul'das be a champion that's like really solid in with this buff of I think +2 life. But yeah, I think they're still pretty vulnerable to the card draw. I think like a lot of people talk about, and just not really having that ranged game, which I was kind of afraid with playing against Shadow Elves because they have such a strong range game. And actually, Vexer and I had this matchup in Tournament of Champions where I was FK, he was Shadow, and it kind of had a similar. Uh, yeah, it kind of went a similar way there.
Mm.
It's crazy how similar it was. So yeah, Gul'das, I think it proved that it was a little bit too much with 10 life. I would leave it at 9 life, and that would probably be the sweet spot for that champ to be playable, still good. But right now at 10, it's I feel a little bit busted.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too.
I agree.
All right, so we can probably leave this one rolling a little bit more as
It's a long game.
we took a little bit of time on the first one, but I think the first one it was the one that has had some of the greatest strategic depth in here. In this matchup, the key with against Fallen Kingdom, most of the time, really, you want them to run out of their resources. Like they're very explosive, but once that explosion happens, then they really just run out of steam. So I had a great opening here.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I kind of played my standard Fallen Kingdom strategy here, just mostly focusing on carriers, trying to get these chain attacks. Had a had a lot of gates in my hand and events near the beginning, which, but I was still able to use Raise the Dead to get myself support with the archer to make this play work.
Mm.
Yeah, my game plan here was just do what I mentioned, and also as a priority, try to make sure that those zombie infestations wouldn't pick up. Right, like try to stop those zombies is the key, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to trying to get a carrier kind of in the back with Hellforge weapon to hopefully use 2 or 3 times, which kind of worked out a couple other games in the tourney, but. No, I kind of ended up with a lot of Hellforge weapon in my hand for a little bit too long, which hurt my momentum.
What was for myself, Davood? This game you discard both blood summons. Was that just you don't think you're going to go for an assassination this game? Was that sort of the idea, or what was the thought behind that?
Yeah, I like to see it whenever I have a fire or whenever their summoner is a little bit exposed, and I figured Vexer would pretty much be aware of blood summon dangers the entire time. So if I was going to hold on to Hellforged, I need to at least get rid of that blood summon.
Mm. Yeah, it's one of those things where you always have to be scared of it at the same time, Vexer, right? Because you you always think that the Fallen Kingdom player is going to have even the last card, or not the last card blood summon, but in their last 5 cards of blood summon, if they haven't played one yet.
Yeah, I was playing around blood summons the whole game pretty much, except at the end when I really didn't had a choice and had to expose myself a little bit. But other than that, you'll see in here I wanted to make sure that I could guarantee the kills. You'll notice a lot the Seeker will remember that gal at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, the key of this matchup is how often you get either those 3/3s from the Seekers to clean out the zombies, because if you leave them at 1 life, it's almost like completely missing the kill. They're just going to be regenerating. And I know Davood is like one of the masters of FK that I've seen play the best. Like he's always going to be taking those opportunities of maximizing the resources of the zombies, even with his own units. like not even only your units, like also his units are always going to be turned into zombies if you don't deal with them. And that mage, I think I'm not sure if the replay got bugged. I'm not sure why it's really not there.
Oh,
It's actually
Let
behind.
me restart it.
This is one of those graphic bugs.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, why did I put the mage in? Like, yeah, I don't think that's.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, I got hit with some graphic bugs early on in the tourney, but in these games I was more careful to reload like twice.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
I think only the reload fixes that. So let's see if it goes away by just doing that.
Was it this?
Yeah, looks like it got fixed. Yeah, so that's the real position of it.
Yeah. Talking about carriers, I almost feel like a carrier at 1 health is more useful than a carrier at full health, just because you can heal it and then give all your warriors that damage boost for the turn.
You saw that Seeker? Again, 0-1. Remember that at the end of the game, there's going to be consequences. So just trying to clean up here. This was a perfect opportunity for the purge. It's funny seeing your hand, like seeing how the blood summons went out soon. I was so worried the whole game, like every single play I was playing around the possibility of that.
Yeah, I was wondering like where are my warriors? I'm not gonna blood summon a single archer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these cultists were perfect for this.
This was a perfect hand for this position. Very nice. Very nice play.
Thank you.
Do you go for the Seeker here? Or do you go the Mage, right? Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, didn't want to expose an archer to maybe Salindar, just I don't know, taking a back row shot against it.
Especially because you discard both your blood summons. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So was sorry. So Davood, was this you had in your head? I'm gonna, because I know you've also other Fallen Kingdom games I've watched. You stockpile magic and you don't use it on any champions. Was this like a decision to do Gul'das this game?
Gul'das, wasn't planning too much on it. The magic I was mostly saving up for warriors, and just felt like I had to get rid of a bunch of events that weren't really going to work out in blood summon. But yeah, Gul'das was just a nice sight to see when I had plenty of magic and with the buff. So yeah, just another nice draw of the champion I just needed right then.
Would you have summoned other what's that champion called?
Dragos?
Dragos, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he also would have been good to try to take out that Seeker right there. But yeah, pretty. But Gul'das does have a little bit too much health in this buff.
It's really strong.
Yeah, so I have both Into the Darkness at this point, I believe. So this was the perfect opportunity just to try to shift back. You want to get as far away as possible from the Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, I figured he would. If I went after the gate anymore, I'd leave it at 1 and it would get healed, or it would get regenerated anyways. But still, yeah, disappointed to see everything shift so far back and having so far to go up with Ret Talus still being back row because I was afraid of an assassination.
Another buck there. That one is a little bit further back, and yeah, kind of painful. That one, it's always painful to miss those because you know that archer is now going to become a zombie.
The turn up, yeah.
And this, I'm trying to race up to close the gap.
Here, so you're trying to push up.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And thinking if I missed that mage, I could replace with that archer and then attack again, but then didn't need it. But yeah, 0 on there.
So what was this was interesting because you used the glinting speed, but then you take back the glinting speed Vexer. Was that just to intimidate Davood that you might have it? Because you don't end up using it this turn, right? Or just...
Well, I was actually thinking of of trying to get like a speed play because I had them early and I had to discard them. But then he was getting closer. I felt like, hey, there's a chance if he keeps moving a little bit more. Actually, well, even in here, like if I got a 3-3, I still lack the boost to do the play in a safe way.
And get
But I
back.
could then just shift back and attack with Celandar or Red Talus, right? And I knew he was going to be aware of that. And I wanted him to stop, right? I didn't want Red Talus to get closer and then just be summoning stuff that is right in my face. But I was thinking at this point, again, I felt like I was behind. I was at least not that much at this point. I felt like I was still in the fight. But I was thinking of ways of maybe trying to get that 5 ranged on Red Talus. Yeah, so in here, well, I went for it. Let's see if I was like, I'll finish off that archer and then I'll see if I get the 3-3. And then, look at that. That's the same guy. That's the same one as before. So keep that, that face in mind. So I had to use both Seekers to barely kill an archer. That really hurt.
Vexer, have you ever thrown away as Shadow Elves a Seeker, which is not getting good enough dice? You're like, you're going to the discard. You know, I'll try my luck with the other Seeker in my hand.
Yeah, and the key in this game is really the difference is if you get lucky on those 3-3s to finish off the carriers. Like, for example, if I had managed to also kill that carrier, it really limits what they can do significantly. But that 8 magic, I was watching like, why does he have so much magic? Like, what is going on? Like, Fallen Kingdom usually doesn't carry that much. So, and I was worried about this Gul'das. Like, he's just such a pain, such a danger with 10 life. And I thought he was planning for a Gul'das plus Blood Summons type of turn to kind of like get 2 things out of him. I hadn't seen any Blood Summons. So in here, this gate right in my face was a real problem. It was a perfect decision for a gate there.
Yeah, I felt that gate really gave me a lot of my momentum back.
Yeah, it's hard for Celandar to do any type of shadows play or to remove it because it's not within 3. Or yeah, you can't really.
Yeah. At this point, I'm also getting flashbacks to our other game where I felt like I was getting a lot of good like carrier conversions, but I just couldn't get at Celandar, and he just kept taking them all out, and then I'd run out of steam.
And here, this one, I had like the pulse, and then I was like, okay, I think that pulse is not going to do anything to him. And then another 1-3. You see that Seeker? It's the same one we were talking about before. So remember that face.
I'm telling you, Vexer, you need to discard that Seeker. You know, get it out. Figure out what the coding is for that Seeker and never use it again. Put it into timeout.
And you know, the time that I did the tome and got the speed, I didn't had any Seekers in my discard, and that's why I went for the speed. I also didn't had enough magic to get something else, and there wasn't anything better really at that point that I could get. So yeah, that's another reason why I did that. But eventually, Gul'das came, and it was like, okay. And I knew that was what I was thinking. Like, those Seekers, I really need to retain all my firepower to be able to bring Gul'das down. So I was trying to conserve my like boost and resources for that. But the thing is, I could barely keep up with the stuff that was coming out, and I was always barely having enough boost to just keep reusing the Seekers. So I try to not play like all of them or let them die because I knew I was going to need them for Gul'das.
Yeah. Here I make a risky play that really pays off. I thought I really want to take back that front gate position. Carrier is perfect for it. And I also get the bonus of just taking 1 health off Gul'das.
Yeah, that was at that point it really hit the morale of my team there. It was like, come on, really? Like, not even the 2 hits on Gul'das, and then he gets the 5/5.
Yeah,
like, at this
5.
point, I felt like the game was getting out of my reach.
Yeah, I kind of regretted not putting a warrior protecting the side of Gul'das, but not sure how that would have worked out.
Getting Gul'das only to be able to be attacked from one side.
Yeah, but also the Seekers can always, shift out of the way, let someone else attack. So it probably could have worked something out anyways. But he only attacks it once here anyways. So
This I like
after
this
turn. Yeah, I think after this turn, I felt like I had lost the game because I missed the 2-3 on the carrier, and then I was trying to get a boost on that seeker that you saw, and even that failed. So I
You
didn't
missed.
have the second boost to return the one with one life to my hand. So that I wanted to make sure that the carrier was not within the reach. The seeker wasn't within the reach of the carrier, so that he can turn it. And even that failed because of that miss. So this point, I was just thinking like, you know what? I think I'm gonna just lose this game. I'm way behind at this point.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel more confident right here.
Yeah, I was against the ropes. He had that forward gate to keep putting pressure. Guldas was there, still a lot of life, being able to kill anything with one shot. And now I had this carrier right in my face with Selundar. So, but this is where I got a bit lucky with some of the two key roles. Like one of them was that one, and then one other with Guldas. At this point, I still, well, because of Guldas, I couldn't use Selundar there safely without risking Guldas hitting
Mm-hmm.
Selundar. So I was like, well, I'd rather the knight take the Guldas kill, but I need to bring him down. So I kept using my seekers in here, hoping to get like a 3-3 so that then another seeker can just bring him down.
Mm-hmm.
And then in here, this was the saddest pulse of my life. But I was thinking, like, I either discard it for one magic or I use it for that one. I couldn't even hit Red Talus or the Warrior because of the 0-2 with a pulse to at least make it
Yeah,
decent. So that was so depressing having to use it for that.
yeah, just sitting with his gates. Yeah, and here comes the Guldas hit.
Did you ever
Yeah.
think about doing hitting the gate here, Davood, or was it you're just trying to get the knight? Oh, you missed on the knight right here,
Uh,
or
the gate where?
oh the 10 health gate. Sorry, I should remind.
Oh, not too much. I figured if I took it out, it might Onyx Tome it back or maybe a
Mm.
different gate. But I just wanted to take out units that he could efficiently pick up and put back down at this point, which definitely fits the knight. Get an extra damage on Selendar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you get
But
the
yeah, I think we missed it. But yeah, there's a 4 out of 8 melee from Guldas,
on the knight. Yeah.
which is like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I thought I could count on it as a guarantee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that 4-8, I pretty much just jokingly saying, like, let's say as if this was a team like throwing the towel on this one. But when I saw that 4-8 on the night, it kind of like raised the morale of the whole team. And it was like, hey, that's a sign. Like, I can get back from this one. Like, that
Yeah,
was like not something you see often, right? Like, that was, I thought, like, this gives me a shot at least to because I only had 6 cards in hand. That's the thing there. Like I was thinking, I'm running out of resources fast. I haven't seen a single pyre. Red Talos still has a decent amount of life. Like I was so behind at this point in this game.
Mm.
yeah, but yeah, almost getting a kill, especially against the Shadow Elves. Like, okay, now he'll pick it back up, and Gul'Dath will have maybe 1 kill under his belt.
Total. Mm.
This
I
time
guess
I
it's
remember too.
too. Was it?
I was super confused by the fact that I hadn't seen any pyre. I think you hadn't played even a single one at this point.
Yeah, they were right here, right next to each other. I think.
Okay, so I said like, okay, I have to just expose now Selenar. I'm just too far behind. He has to get into the game. That way, it gives me a shot of getting the like a single attack kill, which happens. So then I can start softening up the other ones and try to get like a 3-3 to clean up the other one. But of course, they wouldn't give me that. So that's the same dude. Remember, for the same gun. Like, don't forget that face. It's gonna be relevant later.
That masked face.
There's gonna be a wanted poster after.
Oh, look at that mass. It's so scary. Like that mass
Yeah,
of something just
like
right in
I
your
just
face, right at the gates.
yeah, just make sure that there's more units coming whenever he takes one out. I'm like, okay, maybe I can get both of these, but almost on that one. I think I still get the other though,
You get the mage.
so still
Yeah.
feeling good on that. Now I finally get the pyres, but low on magic together, but still usable if I can get the right kind of carrier attacks.
Mm. Yeah, the timing's a little bit unfortunate though, because you'd like to use that on a turn like this turn, or like a turn where you feel like they're going to kill a lot of your units, or a turn you can kill a lot of your units.
Yeah.
So in here, my main focus was on the prevention from the zombie. Well, the zombie outbreak was already there, but I wanted just to reduce the impact of that and at least not allow it to be on the backs of my units. So as you saw in here, my focus was just to do like a garrison here and leave no targets that could be converted into zombies.
Mm.
Yeah. And it had kind of slipped my mind that the cultist might work out in his favor, giving him the self damage. So I was kind of wondering if I did the right thing moving cultist up. But yeah.
Oh yeah, on Selenar's turn.
On his previous turn, yeah.
Oh yeah, I see. Yep. Giving him the boost. Yeah, the
I
boost.
think this was the pyre, the saddest pyre, also that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, like okay, I'll just get my two almost guaranteed kills, and then
it was not. It's the other one. This one was normal. Like, well, you got two on you, and then I think I had to at least give you one more because that warrior was too close to me.
Yeah. That one worked out fine.
Then I didn't even bother attacking the carrier, right? Like, it's better for them to have a 1 health carrier that gives him the 2 attack vector there from the same lane. So I was like, you know what? This night, it's better just to be used as a wall to buy me some time.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to position Brett Talus slightly more aggressively.
Were you going to say something, Vexer?
Yeah, at this time, I've actually just been recycling like the last set of units for this past turns. That's how low on cards I am.
The same few units.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every conversion is huge.
So in here, another play having backup shooters to try to guarantee the full carrier kills, because I know like any miss on the carriers is just can be a game over. It's hard to rely on those 3/3s. So then the 3/3 on the Seeker allowed me to try to go for the 2 attacks on the other one. Ooh, but didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then the Ranger was within range of being turned into a carrier.
Yeah. And here I think, well, I have a carrier at 1 health. I might be able to kill the knight, so here comes another pyre.
Mm-hmm.
Keep everything moving forward. I'm feeling really good there. Like, okay, I can get my 2 kills.
And then you would.
Wait, no, I can't. So I'll just get my one self kill for the pyre.
So at this point, are you still afraid of a blood summon, or not really, Vexer?
Not really. At this point, I know, like, just because the amount of cards in his hand, I knew one of them was a warrior, at least. I think the second card, I wasn't sure. Because when he had 3, I remember, I knew one of them. Well, I was pretty sure. Like, it's not like I knew, but I was, okay, one of them is a carrier. Like, he hasn't played all of them from hand. The other one has to be a warrior. And then there's a potential other warrior, or... Actually, I think I felt pretty sure it was that, because the events that he could have had, there had already been situations in which he would have played them. Like one of the swords, I think you discarded. So I thought, well, it could be the sword, but then if it was the sword, he would have already played it in this situation. So then it's not the sword. So that's why I kind of knew already what his last cards were.
Like you said, this is the saddest pyre ever. One health pyre.
Exactly, and that pyre, I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna kill your units. Just one.
Yeah, just gives me that 1 extra summon. Yeah, trying to get some magic for the last couple warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Boost them up a little bit.
How are you feeling at this point, Davood? Do you think this is a 50-50, or you think you're losing, or you're not sure?
At this point, I feel like, okay, I need one really lucky turn to turn that knight. Otherwise, that knight is going to keep coming back, and I think the knight just keeps coming back.
It's nice. 5 health is hard for Fallen Kingdoms to deal with in a position like this, where no more swords.
Also, with those ranged options to the side, I just didn't really have a good way of dealing with getting flanked.
Mm.
Oh, this one was really painful. Like not getting that kill there on the warrior.
Because it can get infected.
Yeah.
Like the 7 dice, and Dennis was like, "Oh man, now he's just gonna attack me twice with the thing, and it's gonna be right in my face, blocking my summoning spot." This is what I thought. Like, hey, I'm getting back into the game, and after this, I was like, okay, maybe it's too far. But at this point, I felt like, yeah, this is just gonna be determined by like the last rolls, right? Like I could always get back if I start getting like single attack kills with Celandar back to back on warriors or things like that. So that forced me, instead of allowing Celandar to be hit, I had to move my Seeker so that the Seeker is the one that gets converted, and I don't take like 4 to the face, and I lose my summoning spot right there.
Mm-mm-mm. So you're prioritizing your summoner health here versus the Seeker.
Exactly, because the Seeker, I didn't even have enough boost to be able to use the Seekers that I had. I still had, at that point, I think, another one in hand. So keeping a second one, it wouldn't really make a big difference, as I didn't have the means of feeding it with boosts, like back and forth.
Mm. That makes sense. It's only 2 health. Yeah, this one's almost down.
Okay, so this was my chance. I was okay. I can maybe take two carriers. I have a backup shooter. This play has some good odds here.
Get it. Okay, you get them both.
Barely
Nice.
get the other one. So I was like, okay, I am still maybe in the game. Not
Mm.
leaving any targets for him other than Celandar, which right now will just have to start taking some hits, and then he goes all the way here. I was like, I wasn't expecting that play. Well, I'm not sure if I was, but I was like, okay, that's actually not bad. That works out for me.
Yeah, I could just see like, okay, I'll just keep taking out like 2 or 3 of my units. I'll at least try to get enough magic for my second warrior in hand.
So you have to get both of them.
And I think this game is a perfect example of squeezing every single amount of juice from those gates, right? Like every single damage on all of them. So I thought in here, well, he went to that side. I was going to stay on that side with the Celandar on the back and start shooting from there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what? He can march to me. Like, let's just make it hard on those zombies, which is one of the hardest parts with the Fallen Kingdom, right? Like getting all of those melee units where you want them to be. I knew he had like the other one, the melee unit with a warrior, and I didn't want him to cut me off through the middle. So I just proactively said like, hey, I'm just gonna bring the game to the other side, because that gate in the middle was making things really hard for my positioning, with the fact that a warrior could just walk out of it and walk through the middle and start cutting me off there. So that's why I decided to instead just start moving to the other side and just leave one knight, which he wouldn't be able to kill in a single turn. So yeah, the knight was a backup shooter because I couldn't really count on the 3/3. I needed to make sure that it went down. And yeah, this is the Seeker I told you about. Say goodnight. I was like, you know what? You're going down. Payback time.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah. No, it was just out of spite. That was it, right? That was really the only reason I killed it completely. I was, you know what? Yeah. That was, the thing is, in there, I didn't even had a gate to keep using Seekers. So I thought, like, you know what? Let's just finish him off. He's a liability out there, and he has to pay for what he has done.
Pay for his sins.
Yeah. I think this play really confused Colby and Joe, but yeah, I was just trying to boost up my warrior a little bit and basically have a carrier anyways. I'm desperate at this point because I just can't really get the momentum that Fallen Kingdom needs. So, but yeah, just 0 for 2. I figure, all right, well at least I have the archer.
Mhm. Well, to be honest, like most plays were confusing Colby and Joe, so it's right with the
Yeah.
tome. Like, why would he bring a seeker? And I was like, oh my god, well, what else can I bring?
Oh
It's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
covered.
They're really not too big of a fan of seekers. I was thinking, well,
Uh,
I mean, they really shine here. I'm like,
okay, so
okay, I'll
here
try
I
to
had to
damage him as
risk.
much as I can.
Yeah, I had to risk cylinder. Like, I still had enough life to be able to take a couple hits. I just needed to guarantee, like, be able to make sure that I could bring down one of those and just force you to have to play the other. The way I was playing, I was trying to make sure you didn't even have enough magic for the other one. So I was really trying to make sure you can get two more.
Yeah.
Get the knight back. Yeah, knights are really
Yeah,
good in this
too
matchup.
nice.
Or in this position, I guess.
Yeah, no, the knights are amazing at this point. So I could just in here line up the play, make sure I get at least 2 out of 2. Otherwise, the ranger would have attacked the warrior to make sure that I get that kill. But I even got like that gave me a shot. If I kill that archer, I knew like the game was mine.
Yeah, cleaning up at this point.
Hmm.
Now you're hoping
Then
for
yeah,
Ratalis to become a
yeah,
hero. Hero
yeah.
Ratalis.
Gotta get that 0.001% chance of Reptiles taking everyone out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great game by both of you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any thoughts afterwards about this matchup? Anything you would have done differently, either of you, or you think this is just the matchup?
Me, I don't think I would have changed anything big. Yeah, Vexer just did such a good job just using the Seekers, recycling the Knights. It was just hard to get a big play to put everything back on my side.
Nah, very cool game.
All right. So,
All right.
yeah, that's it. So
Go
on
on.
the last game, so this game, my game plan, I was able to execute it. And the close game, it was the same thing. Like the game plan I was trying to do because I knew close couldn't really go into the side of Mountain Bargat and try to fight out. So I was able to execute the game plan that I wanted. But in this last game we're gonna watch, my whole game plan just didn't happen as I wanted it to happen. With the Avens, it's very common that they might play the range game a little bit, but then they can start trying to swarm you or get like a big turn on your summoner. And if they get those hits, then you're just hiding and they're just coming after you. So my plan for this game was I needed the demagogue to be within the range, the 3 range space, but I didn't want to risk him in those lanes. Like in here, it's the D and E lanes.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the demagogue is going to be around there, but then the Avens are able to suddenly get some good shots at him. So my strategy was okay. I'm gonna try to put a gate right next to the 10 gate so that I can keep the demagogue within the 3 spaces of all of the center of the board and try to keep the action around there. Like eventually, I felt like the fight will have to go there. Like the Avens, it might be hard for them to just play the whole range game if I try to stick my units behind their 10 gate and in that lane. So that was what I was trying to do. And he started playing the range game as I anticipated. But then, because of one particular thing with Cyruk and a roll, like he was able to keep it range without me being able to have a good counter attack. Because what I was thinking is that if he keeps it range, if I manage to get a spew mutant, I'm able to have a good exchange of the econ side of it. in which I'm throwing like the guaranteed damage plus 3 range, and then he's counter-attacking me just with a steward, which most likely than not won't really be killing it, even with worthy, right? Most likely he's going to be leaving it in 1 life, unless he sends a melee unit to one of the flanks. And then if that happens, then the game devolved into what I wanted, into that brawl in the center in which my other mutants can be killing whatever he brought in. I know that the Avens have the 2 events that allows him to bring back his units. So I knew that wasn't really going to be easy. After thinking about this a little bit, I felt like, oh man, this might be one of the toughest battles for the Filth. I had never encountered this one before. I think I had like 31 games with the Filth, and none had been against this. Like 31 games I had with the Filth, none of them against them. So I was improvising. Like I wasn't really sure about what was the best approach or not.
Hmm. How about you, Davood? What was your thoughts into this matchup?
Yeah, going into this matchup, I just recently saw that game where who was it? Chibata had that crazy play where the demagogue just like boosts and moves all the way around the map to just assassinate the other summoner just
Daymar,
completely out of the blue. So I really wanted to kind of stay far away from the demagogue and just use the bird's range as much as I could.
Hmm. Did you? Was one of your goals always to get Zyruk out as avians, or is it more situational for you?
Usually because I don't have too much experience using Wrath. I guess just because I kind of lean Cyruk because I like worthy dice so much. So yeah, that's where my strategy usually goes.
So I guess Vexer, the first turn, you discard 3 cards. So I guess this was what you were talking about this gate, right, Vexer? Is that you wanted to keep everything sort of in these 3 squares, or this
Exactly. Around this area in which the demagogue can be within the 3 spaces. But he's not exposed to those flying units that can start coming out of his front gate and hit you in the face, plus the sky assault type of situations. Because I thought, like, the way the Avens win is that, right, with the assassination. They still have a good econ game, but it's an expensive proposition for the Avens. Like the units are pretty expensive. So if the econ game, if it went into econ, I thought I could win. So I just wanted to make sure he didn't get that assassination kill with a big turn. Which every time you have the demagogue exposed around that area, it's not hard for them to just do the classic Sentinel goes to the face, then the Steward behind, then Ava behind or something like that, and they do the Sky Assault or like a lot of damage. So that was the focus of my initial goal here. And my opening hand had 2 Horrifies, and then Encounter and Horror. So that's why I had to discard 3 of them. Like the Horrifies, I was like, hey, I cannot really hold this. Like this can be useful at the end of the game once there's a whole brawl and the demagogue even got into it. But at first, I was like, no way. And then the Encounter had no use at this point, so it just had to go.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, people were thinking it was like you were discarding a bunch of cultists. And I was like,
No. Like I didn't discard a single cultist. I think maybe just one anointed at first when I was like starving for magic.
Yeah, at the end I counted everything and thought maybe he has 1 anointed left.
So here, go on.
Yeah, so this was the key play for that defined the whole game. It's funny how those tiny details can't just define the whole path that the game takes. I noticed that he discarded 3 cards, which is also quite a bit, right, for this stage of the game. So, and at this point, it was clear to me that he has a predilection for champion play, the way he had been playing his other games. So I was thinking, okay, Cyruk is coming, right? Like which champ you play in this matchup, it's Cyruk. So I try to make sure that I need to kill that steward because Cyruk in play without the steward around, he's not that scary. Right? Like the sage is going to be there. It makes it a 4 range, but that's really not scary compared to a worthy 4 range with Cyruk, which pretty much can nuke all those mutants that I try to send to to attack him.
Okay.
And he didn't have enough magic. So he has 6. I knew, like, if I kill the steward, he won't be able to play a steward on Cyruk. So then Cyruk is really not a massive concern, at least at that point in the game.
Davood, what was the idea behind this backward game? Was it just, you're going to play, just the entire game plan was, like you said, to play in the back row, just shoot at them, try not to get assassinated?
Yep. Shoot at them, wait for Demagogue to come out, try to get the I can't remember the name. Sky Shot?
Sky Assault.
Yeah. Yeah, Sky Assault. Assassination.
Yeah, so when he put that gate on the back, I was like, oh man, like my gate position is not great. So then I just needed this. This really hurt because I was gonna do the volatile play.
I see.
So I knew I had like 5 range there, so I just needed 3 out of 5, and missing that pretty much just really punished. Not only I lost that magic at that point, then he was able to just hide that steward for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then just use Cyruk, which now had a chance to like one-shot my spew. So that one was the one that just set me up in a path of catastrophe there.
Yeah. That steward pretty much becomes my machinist, just sitting back there just to give me some abilities.
Super machinist steward.
Yeah.
I guess it's also kind of awkward for you, Vexer, at this point to move upwards with Demagogue, because where do you put the gate, right? You need at least 2 moves to get a decent gate without completely blocking yourself.
Exactly. At this point, when he played that gate on the back, I was like, oh man, like this is, yeah, that was like a good response to my gate placement, right? Like just saying, hey, I'm going to commit to the back, and being able to do with that with Cyruk pretty much guaranteed that he was going to be able to do that, because in here, even if I was missing 1 boost to be able to bring back the spew. I could have sent the spew to at least try to bring him to 3 life so that he's 1 shot away, because Cyruk is an expensive proposition, right? But the thing is, I couldn't even do that on the next set of cards that I drew. I drew the Abomination, which is the last thing I wanted to see in that stage in the game. So my hand was pretty much not great for this scenario. I had 3 cultists, but I didn't have the boost to
Get something back.
bring the spew back. So there was almost nothing I could do. Like I could play a malignant and just attack for 2 and then lose a cultist, which would be an awful play. So I was like, you know what? I can't do anything. I'm just gonna go back and have you be the one that has to take the initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, so more than like being a master plan here, it was just the reflection of my sad state of affairs with my hand. I only had that melee mutant, so yeah, that's what I just took in activity there.
That you don't overextend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and the sad thing is that I discarded the turn before Seal, just to be able to have enough magic for the best bestial and like another mutant, and also to be able to get close to the abomination, because I already had the abomination in hand and I had the bestial, so I knew I was going to be needing a lot of magic. So I was already counting magic and thinking like, you know what, I can't waste this card for a single boost. But then not having that boost really hurt me because I didn't have a play afterwards with what I drew.
And then you use a nice Gathering Song here. I think most people usually would not use Gathering Song for this Davood, but it's a cool play by you, just forcing, again, Vexer to take inactivity damage or to come to you.
Yeah, I love using Gathering Song like that. My previous game against Chibata, his Savannah Elves, it was very, very similar to this. I was just trying to use worthy dice from a distance and send units in and then pull them back immediately with Gathering Songs.
Yeah, that was a cool game. I think I did watch that one. It's a fun game.
Yeah.
Deny the magic.
And here, yeah, and not only that, it was really for the boost. I needed that 3rd boost to be able to get a spew, which is what would allow me to start trading on the range. But the thing here is that now he moved Cyruk, so he's denying me that good shot with a spew. and just exposing like a steward, which is not the best target there, right? Like he would get then the first attack on the spew with Cyruk again, and I would be really losing on the econ side of it.
Yeah. And at this point, I think I spent like 24 hours just kind of not really sure what to do, just because I was like, okay, do I just take activity damage 2 and wait? Or I think I eventually settle on doing an attack either this or next turn.
Yeah, that was hilarious because we kept like he kept moving on the other ones, but not on this one for like a full 24 hours. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh man, that inactivity shot really scrambled his brain. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Then the funny thing is that your play was just to take inactivity too.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I think it's fine.
Yeah, 24 hours to not do anything. That was, that was
Yeah. Real inactivity.
Nestle says in chat, you're using the gathering song wants to be stronghold, like you used in another game. You know,
Exactly. Yeah. Just needs to sit by the gate.
So what do you decide to do here? Just take an attack.
I think reconfigure so that I could kind of have more flight near the center if I decided to move up, and like possibly cover the fronts of his gates if that seemed like the right move.
I see. No, it makes sense. That's a cool.
Maybe draw him out, try to attack that steward, or maybe Cyrus off to the side.
3 turns of inactivity. It's just cool. Like I said, this is definitely shows how good you both are. But yeah,
you know what? I just had to keep doing the same thing because I couldn't discard the cultists, right? Like you can't discard those. I didn't want to discard the abomination because I knew the game, like I was gonna need it to be able to win this game. So that's why I was kind of stuck without really being able to discard for magic to try to get options until he was gonna be coming in. And because I had more life, at least I knew that well, he's gonna have to be the one that eventually exposes something.
it's true.
If we go to like 1-1.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that would have been hilarious. Like just to see who until the end has.
Yeah, it's like see if he splash damages me first, or if I fly a diver over first.
Exactly, and that's what I was thinking. Like if we actually go really low, that favors me because I have more ways of getting like that final attack.
Yeah.
So what was the idea behind
So
this? It was just to clear your hand a little bit, right? Just play a card.
yeah, I was really thinking just to draw something. In hindsight, it wasn't a great move because it's really hard to use them afterwards. Like I thought like, well, I'm gonna be able to use it once the wing comes into play or something. But after 3 turns of inactivity, I was thinking like, hey, maybe just drawing stuff is gonna give me options because I had 6 magic, as you can see. So if I drew like an event or one of the cards that I knew I was gonna discard, that gave me a chance of doing abomination or something like that. It extended a bit more my options. So I had another 2 set of cultists in my hand. So I thought like I'm just gonna play one, but then it made it really hard to use him. I was able to use him at the end, but it slowed me down in some place afterwards.
Makes sense. And at this point, Davood realizes he loses if you both lose 1 health per turn.
I was just losing confidence in it. Like, okay, this is a solid position, anyways.
Yeah, no, it's a nice formation. Can't really attack you here.
Yeah, taking down some of his gates worked in the Mountain Vargath game.
True. Cool. Horror here, yeah, makes sense. Because you think you're gonna just have a bunch of mid-fight, or you're hoping for a mid-fight action right now, right? Vexer?
Yeah, and if he comes in to surround like the horror, they can always fly in and take my front gate spot. So at least the horror, I wanted something in which he was gonna have to invest and multiple attacks on it. And my other alternative was the bestial. So I didn't like the bestial. You want to bring it out when he's gonna be able to kill something. He just had like 2/5/5s there. So yeah, that's why I went with horror.
And then you use your next gathering song. This is more of a positional gathering song, right?
Yeah, I really wanted to use the strength to kind of sort of cancel out the horror.
Mm.
Worked out pretty well. Able to get a free gate shot.
Were you hoping for this gate to go down, Vexer? Or
Yeah, eventually he'll see what I have to do with it. But yeah, at this point I was really like, oh, you know what? Things didn't really turn out well. On paper, on the econ, doesn't look that bad, but then he has like all his units down. I haven't been able to finish off like most of the units. He keeps hiding them. So this game just felt like it was really getting out of reach pretty fast.
Mm. Yeah, this was like a tough position.
The situation was so bad that I had to use a cultist, expose a cultist for just to get this kill, right? Which is something that you never really want to do. But yeah, that's how bad things were for me at this point.
Mm. It's cool to
I try to get a pretty big play here with using the Sky Assault to try to get two shot kill the beast and get a really solid four melee on the cultist, but it doesn't quite work out.
And this one I got lucky, and this gave me a hope that okay, I didn't lose the cultist. Maybe I have a way of getting back into this game.
Mm.
Yeah, have to use 4 melee just to get one.
All the attacks there.
Interesting. Okay. You get the two ranged ones, spew and bursting.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. The burst. At least I knew like well he has a ton of things there. So after it kills it, like there's gonna be at least some splash damage. I knew that the demagogue was gonna have to get involved, so I started moving a little bit forward. I had to risk the cultist again just because I didn't even have enough attackers. So when I wanted to get the two kills, so in here at least I needed those two kills to try to get back into the game. Were critical to give me a shot, but I had to expose the cultist, so that was the downside.
Mm. Makes sense. So here again, you're trying to get the and nice use of battle song here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this one was painful.
Yeah, it was just great timing
So
to get a lot of hits.
yeah, that shot there was critical. Like once he wiped the board this turn, I felt like man, this is going to be tough to get back on this one because we're pretty close on the econ side. But now with this, I'm way behind. And this forced me to use not only both anointed, but then have to use the shield of the hopeful, which I was hoping to discard to have enough magic for the abomination, which I've been carrying the whole game. But this is where things start getting just crazy for me from the perspective of the type of rules in which you just can't get any single kill. That one was really hurt me a lot not getting that sage because now Cyruk was going to keep that bonus and I really needed the magic too at this point to be able to end at 4 and have the threat of two mutants.
Yeah, it makes sense. The extra magic plus not getting surrounded plus the.
But because of that, I had to bring the mutant back to just discard it, and then my boosts were. I was struggling for boost at the end just because of having to do that. And now the sage was hidden, so it's denying the magic completely for a longer term now.
Mm.
So that was also huge there. Like it had a massive impact for the late game.
And what are you thinking here, Davood? Are you chilling? Are you still scared, or what's going through your mind?
Yeah, still feeling good. See, it's like a really good defensive play. So I don't think it's worth it to keep my units out there. So I just try to ride out the shield.
The hopeful.
Just keep Cyrus going.
Because of flying, this gate is actually not that bad in terms of you can still move.
Just small heads up, I might be Ubering somewhere in a minute, so
No
I'll
worries.
still be here, but might be occasionally distracted.
Okay. No worries. We can go a little bit quicker, so that you're not late.
Yeah, no worries.
So here, your goal Vexer is basically just to hopefully get as many boosts from Bestial and to start recycling, right? Just Bestial. Did you already discard your Abomination at this point, or do you still have Abomination?
No, I was keeping it. So that was my hope to get back because there was still a lot of health and units to go through. So yeah, that was my plan. Like I needed to get a lot of boost there, get as much magic as possible, to then be able to bring an Abomination where I put the boost on top of. And this turn it really hurt me having to separate the Magog. Well, I not hurt me that much because it was just one kill, but I knew to get the Demagogue, I was gonna have to separate it from the range of the all the other units, that 3 space range. So yeah, and at least him having to go back gave me that opportunity to just start like going all in, clogging his gates, and giving me that opening to move forward with it.
I'm starting to get pretty worried because any kind of response, everything will be really crowded and really vulnerable to some splash damage by either bursting or the spitting.
You're trying to get rid of this Bestial as many times as possible, not to let him
Yeah,
get value from
I'm hoping to get a free shot on Demagogue, but I had to finish off the Beast.
Was this winged Vexer just to try to get the mutant in there, or what was the?
Yeah, to get it in there as soon as possible, and to not get it in there exposed as a 2/2 that he could kill easily,
Snipe
like
out.
with a single diver that he sends or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That makes
that
sense.
was the idea there.
Cool.
Right now, you have me there with still the Abomination, 0 magic, but still with the hopes of like an end game, last card type of thing that gets me in there. I really wanted to get the 3 attacks, and this was another one. Like I needed to get the 3 attacks every turn. And here I had like the favorable odds on that Sentinel to then be able to finish off the Steward and start trading there. And then this 1/4 really really hurt me. Not being able to finish those units because he had so many on the board that I really needed to start cleaning them up.
Oh, makes sense. Makes sense. And also get that magic.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to keep relying on Cyrus to get my economic advantage as much as possible. Take out some mutant bodies.
So at this point, Davood, your plan is to just try to clear out all the units they can, not really to go in on Demagogue, right?
Yeah, just try to limit the unit potential as much as possible.
Mm-mm. Cool.
And here, just trying to get away from Cyruk, not give him any easy targets in which he wouldn't have to commit, and just try to be trading, getting magic to be able to keep recycling, hoping that some of those mutants are able to survive, or the anointed at 1 life to be able to convert it again. So we just ended the turn with 3 for like a Bestial again. So no luck on that one. I was really just hoping that he wouldn't get the 4/4 again. That was really the
anointed.
yeah.
you have Bestial, and then this is the turn which really solidifies this game, I think. Right? This is the one where you whiff on Zyruk with Beast, or is the turn afterwards?
Oh yeah, this one it was this one because I was like the 7 dice on this one. It was like 70-80%. I was hoping to get that, but I knew it wasn't a guaranteed thing, so I had to put the cultist as a backup shooter because the intent was to be able to finish off that sage that survived last time with a winged, and at least just needed the magic, needed to remove one more unit to get back. And yeah, that didn't happen.
Is this a play you think you would have done? Like, would you have attacked with an anointed normally, but you just felt like you were behind, so you had to go for the 3-for-3? Or what was the thought process behind that?
I needed the 3-for-3 because the idea was to get the other winged on Sage attack. So this is the type of play in which you say like, hey, you know what? I just need the 3-3. Like it's one of those in which I have to take the risk of that 57% chance because you need the other kill and you're so far behind that you just have to hope for it. And yeah, that was significant because yeah, those two boosts were massive, right? At this point in the game, getting that 3-3 would have allowed me to really get back in the game. And this is just the thing that amazes me from the field, that they're so strong in which all of this during the whole game I've been so far behind and I get so many chances to get back into the game with normal things happening, right? Like I didn't really need like this massive lucky thing. It was like a 7 dice on 5 and the odds were in my favor, and that would have allowed me to get back into the game with 2 more boosts there and the sage dead. And then there's still some other shots. Even with this, there were some other opportunities in which I was almost able to get back into the game and turn things into my favor, which I didn't expect. I thought like, hey, this game it's going to be really tough to have a chance.
I think that'll be one of the questions which someone asks is, whether both of you guys think that Filth are the new S tier faction, and I think, I think I know your answer.
They are a little bit too powerful, too overpowered, in my opinion. There, they just to tell you, like they always find a way of winning. It's just crazy. Doesn't matter. Just like in this game, you think you would be seeing the game and say like, hey, things just didn't play out for the Filth. They have no chance. Before this game, you want to try to guess my record with Filth? I had played 31 games with Filth before this.
I know Prophet was like on a 12-game win streak, so I'm gonna say out of 30 games, maybe low 20s, 21, 22.
So before this game, I was 31-0 on my games with the Filth. So it was hilarious that the first loss was the most important one. And the thing is, many times I was close to losing in games that just went awful or whatever. And I will always find a way of getting back into the game just because how busted they are. Like, I think the two main issues I have with it on the power level was Bestial and Spew. Like, they are a little bit too much. Like, you can abuse them too much. Like, if I would try them differently, I would try Spew doing damage to all the units which are within range, even your own units, so that it's not so easy to always get so much damage and benefits out of it. And Bestial, I would try it with a single boost after killing something, because just abusing it over and over and over again and getting almost a full magic out of the kill, like 2-3 boosts is like equivalent to 1 card, 1 magic. It's just too powerful after play like all the games I played and the way you're able to abuse it.
Makes sense. So here, Davood, you were probably thinking, let me get rid of this cultist so they only have 2 units potentially to to summon off of, right? Was that the...
Yeah, well, I'm strongly considering surrounding Demagogue and just trapping him and just trying to finish him off that way. But then I think, okay, that's what Vexer wants because he has a Horrify, and I'm just going to take out some health, and then he'll have like 1 or 2 turns where I just can't really do anything to him.
That's so funny.
And, yeah.
In terms of...
so he discarded them first turn.
Exactly, like you and Blood Summon.
Yeah, it's funny that you thought, because it would make sense with that position. But honestly, in this game, I was just focusing on the close game, and I had already kind of thought that this game was lost so I wasn't paying too much attention to this game. I was just focusing on the other one, and that's why like that position wasn't great. Like you could actually trap me there, but I didn't think it through at that point. But it's funny that you thought the horrify in this situation. I would have thought the same thing, right? Like you surround me there, I play horrify, and then just kill everything with a bestial that is untouched or with the other mutant.
No, that's super funny. Yeah, just how for both of you guys, how just like, yeah. I mean, it just shows you how powerful throwing away cards is in a certain way, because you always are. Sometimes it's better to get both events played. That way you don't need to worry about it, versus yeah, just never knowing if it's the last card in their hand. Oops, sorry. So yeah, just getting some nice chip damage on.
So at this point, I saw you only had 2 cards left, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I have a chance. Maybe I get lucky. Like I'm gonna be able to kill these 3 units right now and have like a decent amount of boost. I have Abomination in hand only, and let's see, what else do I have at that point? I have but then, oh, let's see. Go ahead, play it through. So yeah, like easy kill. I get rid of this. Oh, they won 3. At this point, I was like, "You gotta be kidding me! This is just."
Yeah, I was pretty happy at that point.
I think that's what sealed the game. Like up to this point, I felt like I could have won this game just getting that 2-3 there. So that would give me the boost and would have allowed this winged on the side to survive, right? Like he wouldn't have been in range to kill the winged. So then I would have been able to do like another mutant out of it. The other thing I had in hand was just the event. It was really just going to be used for magic. The one for the units that they don't get the shield of the hopeful. So I really just needed the winged to survive to bring something back. So if the diver was dead, that would have happened. So I would have had the Vestial and another one to get to that like 7 magic.
It's a nice play by you. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, at this point I'm terrified of leaving it at one health to just become another healthy mutant.
Yeah. No, it's a nice assessment by you to just get this winged. Don't worry about anything else. Make sure they only have they have 1 more card. So worst case is a cultist, right? But they probably would have played a cultist if they already had it. That's cool.
Yeah, and a lot of time it's just focus on 1 unit at a time against the filth.
Yeah, no, great game. Great game by both players. Very fun. But I was super happy with this finals. It was super competitive. Hopefully next time they play them in the right order.
Yeah. Also, yeah, they haven't revealed the games on the tournament page, right?
Not yet, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for both of you giving us the links.
Oh yeah, I was like, I hope they're not like keeping a secret.
Oh, that's a. I mean, do you think this role matter?
Yeah. If I had any hopes of bringing the Abomination, like that play with the diver, I thought I was gonna get a shot at the diver to be able to get to 7. But then you moved it away of the range of the Demagogue. That was good. And then get the 5/5 on that one. I was like, okay, yeah, this is because it's funny. Like think about it. If the Veshel would have survived, I would have been able to play the Demagogue. Would I? Or I think at this point I was missing 1. Yeah, if you didn't hide the diver and the Vestial survived, I would have still had a shot because I would have been able to transform him and then kill both the steward and the diver and have enough magic for the Abomination and then have enough boost to bring 2 things back to put on them. And one of them would be the Vestial, so I would have been able to get more boost to keep putting stuff on it. So it's amazing how at that point I would have still even have a shot in that situation if those 2 units would have gone down.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. But Yeah, at this point, I'm still convinced he has a horror 5 because I think, okay, he doesn't have the anointed I'm looking for. So I'm just playing safe as possible. And yeah, and then thought that 5 out of 3 was just the kind of icing on the cake.
Yeah, no.
And that was it. We don't need to see the unraveling of the demise of the demagogue.
Sounds good. Any final thoughts about the tournament before we go to viewer questions or these games?
Yeah, just good games, man, and congrats.
Yeah, good games to you too. Well played. Thanks. And yeah, I'm glad they were all just super intense to the bottom of the deck games. Just felt like real finals.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like the two of the best players going against each other. Duking it out. Everything you'd want from a finals.
Yeah, coming down to the dice.
Exactly, coming down to just both players playing well, right? That's all you can hope for. That was super cool. So the first question is from Shoots, and the question is, I guess I'll go one by one. Why did you choose your factions for the tournament? So I guess starting with Davood.
Yeah, these factions I've always had fun with, and also pretty successful with all of them, really. Yeah, I like the formation plays of Mount Vargath and the birds, and then just the explosive assassinations of Fallen Kingdom, and sometimes Shadow Elves.
Did you know that Shadow Elves was not in your top 3, or was that on purpose to have Mount Vargath?
No, I did not know that would happen, but I did order them by how much I kind of enjoyed them, so it worked out fine.
Okay, cool. How about you, Vexer?
For me, just to I'm not gonna try to expand too much on this, but so the last one I played was last year, right? I skipped the last tournament, and one of the reasons is I just really dislike the format of this tournaments. I feel they take too long, and you're grinding too much with the same factions over and over and over. They play them in the middle of the week when instead of on the weekend where people have more time. So 1 year back on the last one I played, I said, you know what? I'm not gonna play this tournaments again, and I don't like this thing with. I'm one of the main proponents for balancing this game. I think this game has the potential to be a competitive game and go against games like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or things like that, right? Like that type of online game. But for that, it needs to be balanced for people to want to play all the different factions and have a shot at winning when you have with any faction, right? You don't want to be in a matchup in which, oh yeah, I have like a 20% chance, right? Which is it's really tough. It doesn't feel like a fair fight. So I've always been advocating for that. And after last year, I said, I'm not gonna play this tournament. Just don't find them entertaining. I guess after 1 year of that, I forgot how much I disliked it because I said, you know what, I'm gonna enter this tournament. Just to make a point, I'm just gonna pick the strongest factions and just let them do the hard work, right? And in a lot of my games during the tournament, honestly, I felt like I just won because the faction was just too strong. So even though the dice were killing me, it doesn't matter. The faction gave me like that balancing edge. Like with cloaks, I don't even play cloaks that much. Many times with cloaks, I feel like I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't even know if I'm playing them properly. But somehow I end up winning just because of those broken interactions with the mechanist in the corner type of ridiculous thing. So I thought like, hey, I'm just gonna grab the strongest ones and just make a point of the need for balance, like how they just kind of just keep winning by themselves. And even in whatever is happening with the lock factor, or if you're misplaying or whatever, like if you have those stronger factions, that type of things just happen. And I just picked them that way. Like I just picked the strongest factions in the game, all the ones that are considered the S tier, and see if what I thought would happen about them just going out there and wrecking havoc would happen. And the point is really not that I'm not making a point that I'm very good and all that stuff. Is just that if you have overpowered factions, it's more likely than not gonna go that way, right? Like I know there's a luck factor and all those other things that sometimes the opposite is going to happen. Just like in the final, we saw that even though my factions were S tier and the other ones were just A tier, it can still happen. But the thing is, when there's so much a big unbalancing between the factions, you can have those type of things happen. And that, let's not even get started on the people who were trying to play like Phoenix Elves or the Shimmering Fae, right? Like you end up going into unfair fights, which it's not that fun when you don't really have a decent chance. So yeah, that's how I picked those. It was as simple as what's the strongest? Okay, I'll just pick those and see how it goes.
Cool. No, makes sense. Makes sense. Shoot's next question is: did you think of any of the three factions you bring for this final round? Did you feel any of them was particularly strong or weak compared to the other choices? Like, would you have changed any of them? I guess, or do you think any of them was like crazy strong compared to the other ones? Davood.
Yeah, you said for the finals or for early rounds?
So for the first three rounds. So for just for the general, like, did you regret any of the factions you
Like,
chose in the first three rounds?
I don't regret, but I was kind of struggling with Shadow Elves early on, honestly. But I think it was because I was playing so passive with them, trying to go with full econ that I just kind of got gate crowded and like kind of gate denied in a couple games, and yeah, really just showed I need to push forward a little bit more with them.
Mm.
But yeah, my birds never let me down.
Was there any
Mhm.
factions you thought were super strong compared to what you thought they would be?
Yeah, birds. I never really had too much trouble. Yeah, like I think I went undefeated with birds, and
Mm.
yeah, just really like how they play.
They're a very cool faction. How about you, Vexer?
No, I didn't regret any of those. They just kept proving during the tournament that they just gave me so many options, right?
Mm.
That I could feel how many times a game that would traditionally be lost, like you find out just because the faction is so strong. So yeah, no, I wouldn't have chosen different ones if I was trying just to go for a victory there. At the end of the day, many times the matchup you get, that's really a little bit of luck,
Important.
right? Like for example, this one with against the Avens, it might be one of the worst matchups for the filth, but that's
Mm.
really just in theory random, so a
Mm.
bit of out of your control. I would have wished to have the the Savannah Elves for the final. That would have been a great match
That'd been cool.
for one of these ones. Yeah.
Mm. Did the filth increase or decrease in your mind for strength? Like, did you think the filth were? I guess I mean probably increase, but did you think the filth were as strong as they showed during this tournament? You know, almost going undefeated. I think they almost have like an 80% win rate in round three or something crazy. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's consolidated my view that they are overpowered. The good thing is that they are not overpowered in such a way like the cloaks, for example, which they're really overpowered just because of broken interaction, like a broken card, which shouldn't really be that, but they didn't thought about it at first, or they're not broken and like that's the main example. Like they are just because all the cards are too powerful, and the two of them are. I guess I don't not sure if I wouldn't call the bestial broken in the same way as cloaks. I would just call it like overpowered, just way too out there. Same thing with spew. So yeah, they're going to be now one of the main ones we'll see at all the competitive events and they're going to be because there isn't that much you can do against them. There is indeed a way of playing that probably a lot of people have talked about, like you want to finish up the units and all that. But many times you don't really have a chance with some factions. Like you don't have all not all factions can attack multiple times through the same flank, and there's going to be whiffs, and you're going to get punished terribly for
mhm.
them, right, against the filth. So it's going to be out of your control if you get those whiffs when playing against them. So yeah, they're going to be the new faction that's going to be out there at the top of all the choices and the S tiers with Shadow Elves and the couple others.
Um, cool. You already answered this, Vexer. You said you'd keep the same factions, but Davood, would you change any of your? If like there was a tournament right now which you wanted to play, and I know you both probably don't want to play after 2 months of this, but would you switch any of your decks, Davood?
To switching decks. Yeah, I kind of want to give out. I usually play the same decks, so I think I'll give some new ones a try. I'm kind of pretty interested in the Vekid. I think they have like sort of a non-Vargappy kind of keep the whole squad moving up together kind
Mm-hmm.
of play, and almost I don't know, might give Receive Fae a try. I think they're kind of like a fan favorite for like a puzzle to figure out how to really get them winning. But
That's cool.
yeah, I'll probably keep the birds and Mountain Vargat for a while.
That's what I know you love your birds, and also FK, but maybe you're getting bored of them now. Um,
Yeah, might give FK a break. I kind of, Tournament of Champions, played a whole lot of games with them.
mm, uh, Doug, the first answer was about your gate during the filth game. We already answered that. His second question was Davood. You heavily discard early turns, especially in the Mount Vargath game. You discard Varn. That's bold. What's the advantage to discard like that? Or basically, in general, discarding heavy.
Well, yeah. So what's the reasoning behind it?
Mm-hmm. And what's the reasoning behind
Uh,
yeah.
y- yeah, just full flexibility, and I just I pretty much discard any card that just don't feel an immediate like great opportunity for kind of like Var is a great card, but I just didn't know how to use them just in the next turn or two. So figured I could figure something else out with some different cards.
Mm,
And then
sorry.
I think it's always fine to kind of discard the first copy of any event. I think I saw that somewhere on the Discord, but yeah, you just never really want to end up with two copies of the same event.
Mm, makes sense. Yeah, in your hand. Um, his next question is Davood. Your playstyle is kind of unusual, at least to me. He picks very offensive decks and builds huge magic early on. But how does he choose to push out? Uh, oh, interesting. So he's basically asking. You choose these aggressive decks, but you decide to camp in the back. Is that part of the plan, or is this your way of playing, or something else? Um,
Yeah, I just gotta I guess move up whenever there's like a whenever it really makes sense. Whenever there's like a unit I can take out on the way up, but I like the way they're going. It seemed like distance against the field. Then I don't know, just keeping safe from out of the shadows against the cloaks. Uh, I guess these particular matchups, I just felt like playing more carefully was probably the way to go, and not take like a risk of just kind of getting my summoner taken down to almost nothing in the first few turns.
mm, um, I guess you guys already, or David, you also think Filth is S tier, or you don't think Filth is S tier?
I think so. I haven't. They're still fairly new to me, but I do feel like I've had games where I've just had dominant dice rolls for the first half,
Mm,
and then that's not even like enough to really have a strong lead the entire time. It has to like kind of you kind of need to just play perfectly over and over until finally it worked out.
you're talking about the against the Filth?
Yeah, like against the choke,
Mm,
like Vexer said, I think they can kind of always come back. But I haven't played enough against them. I guess maybe there's like an economic disadvantage to just running their own units, but yeah, I don't know if I can speak to that as much.
cool. And then for both of you guys, do you guys think camping and playing the long game is the best way to win in Summoner Wars?
I think it's the safest way, and often it's a really good way, but like, but if there's always a risk that the opponent could rush up and really just take out your gates if you're being too passive. But I think I guess yeah, just just again, it's just a very safe way to play and kind of wait for your opponent to make a mistake. But yeah, I think it gets more fun, aggressive, but sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I have a similar sentiment there that unfortunately, yeah, it is kind of the best way to play when you're playing competitive because it is the safest one. Like you're not taking big risks, and the strongest factions, some of them tend to be the ones that are able to play conservatively from the back because that way you don't really require. For example, getting specific cards fast to be able to do something like when you play offensively, many times you need early gates to be able to mount a successful and sustainable offensive that you can keep going even after they kill the first wave of units. But if you don't get the gate, then you pretty much have to wait or like you can't really rush forward. If you just play conservatively or defensively, many times it doesn't matter what you draw. You're able to pursue the strategy you want to do. So that's why maybe we see some of this like top tier factions rely on those type of styles. So yeah, I guess then the deck we could say the game would benefit from having more offensive factions that lean and the benefit of you always moving forward.
Do you think it's just an intrinsic problem with dice games where being aggressive you're more reliant on like a few crucial dice rolls compared to if you're camping usually you have multiple opportunities just because like you said you are playing usually safer.
Yes, so that's one of the factors. And the other one is that you have to expose the summoner in a lot of those instances because the summoner needs to be around. And yeah, that just opens you up for being finished off. And yeah, like them like doing their tricks and blowing up your summoner. So those are the two main reasons. Like many times when you go forward, you end up having to take those type of all or nothing risks in which you end up in a really bad position to go after the other summoner, hoping to get like a decent roll. But if you suddenly whiff that one, it could be over for you, right? Compared to if you're playing conservatively, you whiff some type of range exchange, you're still in the game. You can get back. You maybe just lose a unit. So it's that type of high risk, high reward in which, I mean, sometimes there might be good reasons for doing that. But on the long term, if you have to play a lot of games, like in this type of tournaments, in which is a grind of many rounds and many games, and there's almost no room for error, right? In the last rounds, only two people go through in one group, and then only one people goes through in the final. So that means you can pretty much almost not lose at all in the last round, maybe just one game. So if you're taking those type of risk in which you're going for like 50-50 type of roles in which you win if you get it, but if not, you don't, it's not going to happen on the long term. So for that type of competitive, yeah, it's unfortunately it is better to play that way. And that's what I guess makes this type of tournaments a little bit more tedious. So yeah, I would have to be crazy to play one of these once again. From now on, like I'm just a Tortugatron type of event guy. Like, yeah.
Terrible surprise. No, I hope to see you guys both there.
Yeah, those are amazing.
So
Exactly,
fun.
super varied, like not so like not that long. You're not playing that many games at the same time, and all type of different matchups. Like on this one, I was tired of playing the same matchup over and over for a lot of them. Like I got a few repeats on this one.
No, 100%. Yeah, the final two rounds were just like so many Shadow Elves and so many Filth, and yeah, I guess also Crimson Order was big.
Yeah.
Tortugatron asks, oh sorry, no, Bean. Bean has a meme for you. I can send it to you later, Davood. It's the Michael Scott. Who do you think you are? Huh?
Yeah.
I'll send it to you later.
I'm just a cool guy who plays Summoner Wars. That's who I think I am.
And then Bean is criticizing your why are you playing Mountain Vargas so passively? Question mark is his other question to you, Davood.
Well, I was kind of disappointed with myself too, but strongholds very tempting to just kind of give them almost nothing to counter you with. So, but I went with it twice and it worked out. But yeah, it's I was hoping to have kind of like a up in his face game, but yeah, it's just went the other way.
Mm. Yep. And then Tortugatron asks, "Why is Tortugatron so cool?" It's because it's a tortoise, right? So I'll answer for you guys. Don't worry.
They'll say he's quick with the joke and with gameplay analysis.
True.
Why it's cool.
Also, great tournaments, like Vexer said. Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my answer for that one. He has the best events that I've played.
Astrocosmos asks, Colby and Joe were too vague so please tell us discreetly how big Tree is. It's a Eden. Eden Tortugatron.
This might surprise you, but the tree is big. It's big.
Tree is the biggest.
Which tree? You guys are sorry, Chosen Grove, or you talking about Savannah Elves? Which is the biggest?
Oh, I was talking about the Chosen Grove. Is there another that's a big tree? The other one is just a tree.
Nimid should be 4 squares big.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I like that. Giant tree. If you were a frog, what frog would you be, and why? And why don't either of you take Groaks, you monsters? I'm not sure about different frog types. You guys may...
I'll be a like rainforest kind of tree frog, like rainforest cafe kind of frog. And didn't take them. Just too set in my ways. I like birds.
I'm not gonna try to get into frog species, so I'm just gonna answer with the cards. I would be the seer. I would be that frog. And why I didn't pick it, it's because, well, not only I hated the Deepwood Grogs, so the ones how they were originally, because they were just completely broken beyond belief in the way in which they violated so many of the principles of Summoner Wars, and it wasn't fun to play with or as. Like, actually, after the Grogs, I stopped playing for a bit of time because it was just not fun anymore. You encounter them all the time. And it's funny because when I talked with some other people that hadn't played, and I mentioned that, they were like, I also stopped playing because of the Grogs. That's how bad they were. And once they fixed them, I was trying them out and just to see if they were like, if the change would balance them out and all that. And it's great. Like, it just felt like playing a completely new deck, and I was having fun playing them. But they were not A+ or S tier anymore. They were just a normal A- to A range. So because I was just picking the strongest stuff around, I just picked the other ones.
Makes sense. I have a question for you both at the end of this, I guess, related to what you just said, Vexer. But Astro, keep on going with Astro's questions. Davood, where do you see avians in terms of overall power in the game's meta? And why do you think it took so long for them to show up in the finals?
Yeah, so I think they're pretty balanced, but personally I thought of them as like slightly better than average. I don't know, like 55% or something. It's like they've got really strong assassination game, but so if you really expect it, then yeah, you can probably grind them down in a econ game. But oh yeah, why is it taking so long? I don't think it took too long. I think it's just a matter of time. And I checked the earlier tournaments, and there actually seemed like early on they just did a single game. So yeah, not too many chances for too many factions to get in on those games. So yeah, it's just a matter of time, I think.
And Vexer, or Astro asks, will we ever see your terrifying mushrooms again? So fungal dwarves.
I guess in the type of events in which you just play a faction once and then move on and play others, like the Turtle Surprise, yeah, I would definitely pick them whenever I need a strong faction for a strong opponent. But in this type of tournaments, no, I wouldn't pick them. The games were just too long and too tedious for me to have to play them over and over week after week. Well, that was the main reason I stopped playing them. Like, I didn't even thought about the meta at that point when I was like picking them. I just thought like they were a solid faction, really powerful, and against most factions. But then when the Swamp Orcs came out, like, yeah, they had some bad matchups, but I didn't stop playing them because they had some bad matchups. Like, there will always be some matchups which are not ideal, but I was just tired of playing them. Like, all the games went the distance, and it was just putting up the engine, and it would just take forever. So that was the main reason. But yeah, like the short tournaments, Turtle Surprise, which is coming soon, I believe, I'll definitely be playing them at some point.
Anonymous, which is most like 100% Eden. Which would you prefer? Water sports with Jane Clyde Van Damme, painting Warhammer with Henry Cavill, or a movie premiere with The Rock? Davood, which one?
So,
Oh, sorry, Vexer.
I'm not very good at water sports, and I think I'll take the glamour of the movie premiere with The Rock. Have like nice premiere with some free hors d'oeuvres would be nice.
So for me, the movie premiere for sure, no on that one. The water sports, I guess all the outdoors activity on paper, like they sound really nice and all that. Like it's fun being outside, but I'm really more of an indoor person. So I would just stick with Warhammer with Henry Cavill, but probably instead of painting, I would probably be playing it.
Yeah,
Even though I don't really play, I don't know how to play, but I would rather like just be playing it with him than painting.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Lime asks, I think we already answered. Going to each match, these matches, what strategies did you each have? What was your goal in terms of play style in each matchup? I think we went over that in the. Unless you guys have any extra thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think we covered the strategy and the approach and our game plan pretty
Yeah.
well.
Okay. So of all the tournament buffs and nerfs, so the Vanguard, the Fallen Kingdom, etc., which I guess which do you think were the strong? Like which ones would you keep, and which ones would you remove?
So the Fallen Kingdom I would just adjust it to 9. The Vanguard I would keep all of them except for the Archer. I think it is proven that it's not really great at that those stats. I would try it as a 2 attack, 4 health, but with a limit on how many cards you can discard per turn to only 2, so that the maximum you can do in a turn is 4. So that would put it in similar vein to the one in the Savannah Elves. And you do have a limit on how often you can be doing that, right? Like to the point in which then you cannot keep discarding. So I would try it that way. Other than that, I think the one for the cave goblins, the main issue with that one is the fact that it could just die if it doesn't have a unit. So I would add not only life on it, but I would also add an option to deal damage to it. If you can either discard the goblin or deal 3 damage to it or 2 damage to it, because it's not good enough as is. The other ones, I think for the Savannah Elves, the 4 attack is a good way to bring them down a little bit because they are a bit too strong. And I don't think I remember the one for the cloaks. The Out of Shadows in attack phase is not that significant. I mean, you could keep that, but really the change they need is the one on the gun so that it can only be placed on range units. What other changes was there any other one you can think of that was significant?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I would like them to buff the Fae and other like factions which did poorly their first showing and have just been doing badly overall.
Exactly.
How about you, Davood? Any thing come to mind or not really?
Nothing else really. I mostly agree with everything Vexer said. So I really like I like the Vanguard buff. I was beat by them once in the tournament. I was pleasantly surprised by that. The cooled off buff is cool, but yeah, 9 health makes sense.
Yeah. And one thing that I leave everyone to wonder is if we have these cards like Blast, which we always turn into 0, with Flare from the Phoenix Elves, which we always turn into 0, does that mean that we think that's the correct value for that card in that faction? So if that is the case, why don't they just change it permanently, right? Like that's what I would ask PHG, like, hey guys, so if we think that's the right value, why don't we fix it? Like we're admitting that card doesn't make sense at 1, but makes sense at 0. Not sure how many people share that sentiment, and I think that would make those decks be more competitive against other factions, so it would be more fun to pick them and play them, because you have a fair shot at them if all the cards are useful and not just automatic discards most of the time.
I know, I completely agree, especially as more and more decks are released. Like, why should I pick up a Phoenix Elves deck, if I'm starting late, like a physical version of it? So it only helps to make every faction fun and competitive.
Yeah.
All right, Jexic says, in the first Bridget Jones' Diary movie, are you Team Hugh Grant or Team Colin Firth?
Oh boy.
I'll be honest.
Well,
I thought that the movie with the guy who shows up with like the romantic cards was Bridget Jones, but I think that's actually Love Actually. So I was gonna vote that guy, but I looked up the plots of Bridget Jones, but I kind of forgot. It's been a while. No, I'll just go with Colin first. He's just I guess he is like the person that gets chosen in the end, but he's a solid choice.
actually, I don't know who Colin Firth is, and I actually haven't seen that movie. So, but I think I know Hugh Grant. Isn't he Wolverine, the guy who plays Wolverine?
I think so. I don't know. I don't really watch that movie. Hugh
So I would
Grant.
just pick him because I at least know who he is, assuming that he's the person that I said he is.
Oh, he looks like someone
Maybe he's
different.
not. I'm really not really sure.
I think you're thinking of Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackson, that's true.
Oh, okay. Well, I was close. I still pick him because if I have to pick them.
The Beast That Slumbers asks, what game fundamental positional tactic or principle really improves the way you play? So is there like a tip which really improved both of your games?
Oof, I think that could be a whole episode. Not sure if we have time to get into
True.
to that right now.
Next time.
I'll probably go with just like the value of the. You gotta count the value of the card, the value that your opponent gets out of the magic from killing it, as well as the magic to spend on it. So just kind of understanding that, and just learning not to kind of send a unit out too far away from the gates when your opponent can take it out without much of a exposure was pretty important in econ my econ learnings.
Yeah, and I would go with gate placement. Like once I finally was able to, like think on the long-term implications of the gate placement or how to use them properly or what I was trying to achieve with it, that really changed significantly, like the level at which I was playing, because that was one of the parts in which the first year or over the first year, more than one a year when I was playing. Many times I wasn't sure where to place them. I would just go with a rule of thumb, like one on this side, one on this other side. If I'm defensive, like second row. If I'm offensive, third row type of thing. But there's a lot more depth depending on the strategy. Once you define a strategy, then how those gates are going to be playing a role in it and what to do if you get them early or if you don't get them. So I would go with that.
No, great advice by both of you. Cheeky asks, in line, what's your number one tip for players to improve?
So that one I would say, and this is something that applies to many games. This is something I used to do in Magic the Gathering when I was learning, and in this game applies to in almost everything. After a game, once you lose, don't start thinking about like, well, he only won because he got this roll, or because he drew this, or because he got that. Always just ask yourself, start thinking about like, what could I have done differently? Like, what actions during the game could I have done differently to have a different outcome? Because that's the way in which you start learning from your mistakes or things that, I mean, if it's something that in hindsight you wouldn't have known that it was something not likely, it's different. But many times there are decisions we took that could have been like something you could have done something different, and then that's how you learn from those mistakes and start becoming better. I see a lot of people in this type of games. I would see it very traditionally in the Magic the Gathering tournaments when everyone would finish the round and everyone would gather, that they would always just start blaming everything, like just saying that, oh, my opponent is super lucky and this and that. Like, hear that so often, and those were the type of people who wouldn't really get better as time progresses because they were always looking for something else to blame instead of just thinking about like, hey, maybe, yeah, it was he got like a lucky whatever, but was there something else you could have done that even with that luck that he had, the outcome could have been different. And it's amazing the amount of times you think like, yeah, I mean, if I would have played this, even with his lucky whatever, he would have still lost, but I didn't do that, right? So doing that self-reflection is what allows you to become a better player and start playing much better. The other one really is just looking at, hey, what are the players who are really good doing and learning from them. So learning, and that applies in life and everything really. Just look at the people who are really good at something, who are really wise, whatever, and try to learn as much as you can from them. And once you see that, hey, this person doesn't really have anything else to teach me, start looking for someone else who has.
Yeah, I think that's all really good advice. I'll just throw in a couple, more random tips. Just frequently check the odds of your roll success on swzone.com. And then whenever something has, I don't know, 15-20% chance of going wrong, you kind of have to be okay and plan on the possibility of that happening. So the option will.
Yep. I agree. Allies asks, so similar to actually what you were saying, Davood, how do you play around luck of the dice? Do you take into account the quality of the roll to decide the next attack? So this is actually something, I think two parts of this. Do you guys, for example, if you roll a bunch of swords, do you guys then roll a range dice afterwards? Or do you just not? You just take as independent events?
I try to take them as independent events. Like, yeah, I just, I mean, sometimes I think like, oh, I should have used that on the range attack because there was a bunch of range like hits, but I don't really factor too much into planning. And then, what was the other part? Like,
how do you play around luck
how
of
you
dice?
handle? Yeah, it's just try to basically get all my successful all my plans based on like with like a 70% chance of success or better, and if not, just gonna try to squeeze out some econ as much as I can, prevent counterattacks. So yeah, usually just try to get 2 out of 3 range. Sometimes 1 out of 2 if you got 2 range, stuff like that. Just kind of expect to maybe get half of your hits.
Yeah. So for me is I always try to use the concept of a backup shooter and the way I align the units. So if one of them misses, I have the other one that can take that shot to finish the target off, especially when it's a priority target. I really try to make sure that I have like some significant odds, like 80-90% plus on them. And that's it really. Just plan your turn around high probability shots. You will not always be in a position to have a backup shooter, but even when you don't, try to get some shots that are favorable for the turn to be a success. And don't really like look at the quality of the rolls to determine which is my next attack. But I know, like in a certain conscious level, that all of them are independent. But I always follow this pattern in which I tend to do like my first melee attack is my first one, range is my second one, and third is the other melee or a range if it's also a range turn. It's interesting to see the brain is always looking for patterns in what we see and what we're seeing. So I always have to be reminding myself to not think that there's this pattern in which the second one has a better chance of having range, but I still just find myself in the habit of just doing them that way to just, I don't know, just I have to pick an order, so I just try to be consistent and always do them now that way, like melee range and melee or melee range ranged. Because somehow my brain feels that the patterns favors melee first and range after. It's a weird thing.
No, yeah, I think that's very human to, like you said, to see patterns and things.
Yeah, the brain is always looking for patterns. And especially with so many rolls away over and over after time, and how it retains the ones that follow the pattern, and it kind of forgets the ones that don't follow the pattern. So it reinforces that.
There should be a stat. How many dice have you rolled in your Summoner Wars career? His next question, or sorry, Allies' next question is, if you have a bad streak of rolls, do you assume the next few will be better considering it should rebalance itself? We kind of answered that.
Yeah, I don't. I don't feel it's gonna rebalance. Like I hope that it will after getting a whip, right? You always say like, "Hey, come on, be fair. Give me now a 3-3, right?" But you know that it's all every single one of them is an independent event.
Yeah, I often like feel like it will, but then if it keeps going bad, then you start thinking that the next one will be bad too.
Yep. How often do you look up dice probability in an SW zone in your games? So like public queue, I guess, versus tournament. All the time.
Yeah, all the time when it's a competitive tournament, like I'm just on a habit of it. The ones that are the usual, like the odds on a 3-3 or a 3-3 range, or like I already kind of know them off the top of my head. But for complex attacks, like yeah, I'm always doing it. When I'm playing casual, I don't even bother. Like I don't know, I don't keep notes or anything like that. Like when I'm just playing on the queue and you just jump into like 6 games, because it's just too much effort. Like keeping notes of all the cards that have been played, which is something that the app should allow you to just look at the discard, but because it doesn't, like I have to keep notes like on a spreadsheet of the stuff that has been played, because it's extremely important, right? In a competitive game, knowing that's what allows you to plan your play on the second half of the game, like which cards are still around or aren't. But for probability, same thing. Like just for competitive, always it's very important to plan the attacks.
Yeah, similar answer here. Pretty frequently, especially in tournaments, except when it's like common odds, like 2 out of 3 range. I've pretty much know by this point.
All right. Eden has a question, then I'll have the last question for you both. Eden, what do you think about the new Summoner Wars comic book announcement? So I think that was today, actually, if you guys didn't know. Apparently there's going to be a Summoner Wars comic.
Well, I didn't know about it at all, but it sounds pretty exciting. There's a lot of lore. I don't really know anything about the lore. I think there's a channel I should probably check out on the Discord. But yeah, a lot of potential there.
Yep.
I didn't know about it, but I would actually just say like, hey guys, just focus on releasing balanced factions. And, like I don't know, like they can do both really, but on my end, the lore, I really don't care much about any of the lore. I'm all about the mechanics and the strategy of the game. Those are the only parts that move me. Like for example, even some of the cards, I never remember the names of the cards, but I know exactly what they do, right? Like I know what every card do, but I don't know the name of even the cards.
All right, last question for you both. You both have won a tournament now. What have you done with your $90 coupon codes? Have you bought some decks? What is the?
Yeah, nothing yet. I'm hoping to apply it to the monthly subscription.
Oh, cool.
But if I can't, I'll buy some decks.
Yeah, they take a while to send those. It's cool. The second place also gets like almost the same. But I really last time got the board, the one that is this fabric. I don't remember exactly the material, but that fancy board and the fancy tokens and the fancy dice and all that.
Cool.
I got one of their games, the one that is like the penguin game for kids. I thought like, yeah, that's for my kids, but
That's cool.
that's mostly all the fancy Summoner Wars stuff that even though I never play physically, I very rarely play. It's they're pretty cool. And this time I'm actually let's do a bit of the advertisement. This things to store your deck, the containers. I also use one of those for that stuff, and I'll use this coupon for this one for them. They're pretty cool. Like they look really nice. I
should buy some. I haven't.
The deck boxes. Yeah, so with the last coupons, I've got those, and I'm gonna get the last 2 new ones with this coupon.
Cool. Nice decoration, also, even if you don't have decks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think. Like, so decoration, they look pretty cool.
Allies asks in chat how many decks can fit in one. Vexer, is it only one or is it multiple? One of the.
You can fit a couple, yeah. Like they have a lot of space. So if you're just putting the decks, I think probably 2 or 3, because they have all the space for like to fit a full set of dice and tokens on each of them, right? Which you don't really need that on all of them. So yeah, you can fit like 2 or 3 on one.
Cool. Thanks so much for coming, guys. That was great. Sorry for keeping you guys away from your lives for the last 2 hours, almost 3 hours. But yeah, great finals.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Man.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely more time than I thought it would take. I should know by this time how this type of things, looking at games, they always take a long time. But hopefully everyone that was watching enjoyed this. So yeah, I was happy to be here, guys. Hopefully everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, thank you guys. And yeah, congrats to you both for making it to the finals.
Thank you.